Good morning, Raptor Freaks. Lexiot's here. And the East won the All-Star game. Yeah. They scored a lot of points. I was hoping they get to 200, and they did. It was awesome. I'm so glad they got to 200. The Eastern All-Stars. And Scotty was a part of it. Scotty looking really good. Scotty not embarrassing the Toronto franchise, not embarrassing himself. Look real good representing the Raptors, Scott. Fantastic job. All kinds of different things in your bag of tricks on display at the All-Star game. In fact, I would say that Scotty was the first player in that game to show any kind of defense early. He played defense on Cat early in the game, like when he first got in. Yeah, I'm glad Doc played him a good chunk of time. I was worried that he'd have like some sort of 5-minute line, but no. Doc was very equitable with the all-star time for players, and he gave everybody a chance to shine. I also like that Scotty kind of played the game two ways. In the first half, he was very kind of facilitating. He only had taken 2 shots and really kind of didn't force the game for himself. But in the second half, he did a bit more and got more aggressive, ended up with 16 points. In some ways, Scotty on the down low, if he had been looking to pass a little bit more in this game, might have gotten a triple double. I mean, out of a lot of the guys in the game, he was one of the closer ones to getting a triple double, I guess, in some ways. I mean, he only had 3 assists. But if he had been looking more to pass more, he could have been capable of getting an all-star triple double. Like many before him, nobody else was close to. I mean, there were a couple people on the other side. Like Davis had 8 and 8 and 6, but whatever. ESPN has graded Scotty's performance in the All-Star game as a B plus. That's not bad. 16 points, 7 of 10 shooting, 8 rebounds, 3 assists. And they said showcasing the improved shooting that made him an all-star in his 3rd season, Scotty Barnes made back-to-back pull-up threes in transition. He was a perfect 5 of 5 inside the arc, including a play where he waited for the defense to catch up in transition before dunking. Barnes added 8 boards. Yeah, the B plus, I guess, is fair. I'm trying to gauge it against how they graded other people, and some of it's maybe a little low. I mean, you could have maybe given him an A minus, ESPN, honestly, because like there's other guys. I mean, you're giving Jokic a minus, and he had less points, and didn't. I mean, in some ways, Jokic was goofing around. Boy, him and Luca were hilarious in the game yesterday. Some of the stuff they were doing on the court was so goofy. So goofy. These guys do not take this game seriously. In some ways, nobody should because the players don't. And that's just how it is. All-Star game's going to be a goofy mess of goofiness. I like that Scott took it seriously, though. You could tell he was playing hard the whole game. He was actually trying to play defense at times. And he was getting up and down the court. He wasn't playing lazy like a lot of them. That may be the big factor for why the East beat the West. A lot of making light of, the oldsters on West and all the young guys. Giannis saying to Dame Lillard, we're the 2 oldest guys on our team. We need to carry our team because all these youngsters don't know what they're doing. Yeah, and you look at the other side and you look at the West team, and you're like, holy crap. LeBron, Kawhi, Kevin Durant, Steph Curry. I get it. But those youngsters are hungry. They got more energy. Maybe they're not as lazy in their ways like LeBron and the older players. Yeah, I think that showed. And that was a big difference in what happened last night is that the get up and go of the new generation came up and got. So good. So good. All right, let me check in with y'all's comments. Actually, let me do one thing real quick. Actually, we'll do it in the right order. First, Canadian Dana in the chat first this morning. Good to see you, Dana. Often first in the chat. Good morning, everyone. That was a great game. That wasn't boring at all. Geez, Scotty needs to play like that from now on. Yeah, I'm not sure if you're being sarcastic or not. In some ways, people enjoyed the game, seriously. I mean, I kind of enjoyed it. I felt like there were parts of it that were hilarious and weird. I mean, if this is the way the game's evolving to some sort of crazy score fest, all the half-court shots, all the really deep threes throughout the game, yeah, I don't know. In some ways, I may not be long for the NBA and watching it. If it's going to continue to go, like if the NBA All-Star game portends the future of basketball, well, future of basketball sucks. Let's just say that. I mean, in some ways the game wasn't competitive. The East kind of just beat their ass the whole game. And they didn't take the game seriously. A lot of them did not take the game seriously. Some of them did. Some of them did. I will say Lillard was taking the game seriously. I'll say Scotty was taking the game seriously. But a lot of the other guys were not. They just weren't. They just were not. You think Scotty needs to play like that from now on? Well, listen, this is something I'm gonna predict right now. This experience this weekend is gonna be transformational in some ways. As far as listen, in some ways, when you play in the NBA and you go in night out and like you're pretty good, in some ways you can't totally gauge it. Well, this is like a rite of passage for Scott that he can gauge against and say, look, I was out on the court with all the best players in the league, and I'm one of them. In some ways, that is like a status symbol. That is a reaffirmation, reaffirming that he is really good. And in some ways, that can give him a new confidence coming out of this. Think about Precious after the Rising Stars Challenge 2 years ago and the craziness that Precious did after that All-Star weekend when he came back to the Raptors for the rest of the year, leading it up to our playoff series with the Philadelphia 76ers. Think about how he had a confidence boost from Rising Stars and apply this to the situation with Scott right now. In some ways, when Scott takes the court after the All-Star break is over against the Brooklyn Nets on Thursday in the Scotiabank Arena, he's a little bit different, y'all. He's a little bit different. I'm going to say that right now. He's going to be. In some ways, I hope it gives him the confidence to go out there and really, really figure out how to be like those other guys he just played with yesterday for his team in this league. And he can. He's got the skills. That's the reason why you were there in Indianapolis yesterday, Scotty, is because you have Devin Booker, Kevin Durant, all those kind of guys have as a top star in this league. And I'm hoping that post All-Star break, we see a bump in Scotty's confidence and also the way he takes over games. That in some ways, that's the other thing they say, if he's in the locker room with these guys, he's just rubbing shoulders with these guys around the greatness of the league, around them a little bit in this game, sitting on the benches, watching these guys kind of prepare in the locker rooms, talking to them, just kind of picking each other's brains. In some ways, it's kind of like any profession. You go to a seminar or a convention in another city and you meet people that do the same job as you and you trade trade secrets, skills, ideas for the future, innovations, the philosophical viewpoints of how you look at your industry. That's what I'm saying. In some ways, the NBA All-Star Game is just one big NBA convention. And Scotty goes there and he gets seminars. He gets little lessons. He gets little side. Hey, Scotty, come here. I'm Dr. J. Yeah, I just want to say I'm really impressed with your all-around skills. I think you're an amazing player. You just keep doing what you're doing. Who knows what Dr. J is saying to Scotty Barnes if he takes him aside at the All-Star weekend? Who knows what LeBron James gives him as advice or something around the All-Star weekend? Who knows? That's what I'm saying. In some ways, proprietary knowledge is passed at the All-Star weekend between All-Stars. You get in that club, well, you have access to these guys, and they may say something to you, and it may change your career. It may change your career. This is this kind of things I'm hoping for Scott from coming from this weekend. Is first, he has the confidence to understand that you are one of those guys. And then second, well, take the knowledge and the things that you saw and use them positively for your NBA career and helping the Toronto Raptors win, because we know that's your ultimate goal right now, is you want to see the Toronto Raptors win a lot and by you carrying them. So, yeah, that's what I'm hoping. We'll see a Scotty bump up after the All-Star break. We'll have to see how he does. We'll have to see if he has a new fire. We'll have to see if he has a new poise. We'll have to see if he has a new body language. Yeah. Trevor J's here, Commissioner of Fun. Trevor J, Commissioner of Raptor Freak Fun. And he was at the game yesterday in Indianapolis and in the house watching the game. And I hope he enjoyed it. The history of Scotty Barnes' first All-Star game. That's right. We're very Scotty-centric. I haven't even mentioned who got the MVP yet. I don't give a shit. Man, that guy is the most miserable All-Star MVP, three-point champion ever. Did you see his face at the end of the game? Like, seriously. I mean, for winning all that stuff this weekend, you were the MVP of the game, Dame Lillard, and you deserved it. You were shooting those crazy half court shots. It was a little bit like they're trying to write the script of two Boston Celtics being back to back All Star MVPs. And I wasn't having that. I was like, what the fuck is Jaylen Brown trying to do right now? Like, seriously, what are you trying to do? You trying to do a 2 year in a row thing with your buddy Jason? No, 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 no. Thank God Lillard was there to overshadow Jaylen Brown coming up to try and take that MVP yesterday. It really was a three-man race for MVP. You're not going to give 50-point Carl Anthony Towns on the Western side the MVP. No, because they lost. No, it's going to have to be between the three. And, well, Indiana was not happy with the decision. They booed the hell out of Dame Lillard winning the MVP of the All-Star game last night. It was hilarious. The Indiana crowd this weekend was one of the All-Stars of the weekend, honestly. You guys are awesome. It really is a heartland of basketball. Y'all bringing out Larry Bird, Oscar Robertson, and Reggie Miller to talk about the importance of basketball in the state of Indiana was awesome. It was so, so good. Good job, Pacers. In some ways, I love seeing those legends. Those guys are so Indiana, those guys, and Isaiah too. And, in some ways, I love how the Indiana crowd stayed true to their rooting interests, whether it was booing Jaylen Brown in the dunk contest for them flashing the Boston Garden court on their court on the LED screen. That was so stupid. And y'all trying to say that they were booing the judges? No. Don't get it twisted. The fans were booing Jalen Green and his dunks. And also the fans on Twitter the next day are saying that that dunk attempt over Kai Cenat, sitting, 4-foot Kai Cenat sitting, was one of the lamest, worst dunk attempts in the history of the dunk competition. In some ways, that is like telling you just how risky what Jaylen Brown's doing. In some ways, his stock went down. Now people say he had the worst dunk attempt in dunk history in the dunk competition. And that's the risk you run being a superstar and going into that competition. In some ways, you don't need to be doing stupid shit. In some ways, maybe they do need to revamp that competition and make it more about the dunks and not the gimmicks and the props and all that crap. But yeah, I love the Indy crowd being itself. We also saw them counting down Giannis at the free throw line. Giannis Antetokounmpo gets free throws in the All-Star game. What's the Pacers crowd doing? They're continuing the rivalry between the Bucks and the Pacers, where they count how long Giannis is at the free throw line because he has a time limit, and he missed a free throw too. Pacers Nation, y'all did awesome as fans. Y'all didn't do the rah, rah, rah general NBA fans. You guys really were your own voice, and I applaud you for that. I do. Sometimes these All-Star weekends get inundated with so many outside people from all around the league that the true voice of the fan nation that is in this host city does not always get to express itself. Well, y'all did, and I'm proud of y'all. So good. Booing Dame Lillard when he got the MVP over Tyrese Halliburton. Yeah, that was so good. Really good job. I give big kudos to Indiana, the city, and the fans. I give big kudos to the LED court, and I give big kudos to our guy, Scotty Barnes, too. Those are like my favorites of the weekend, honestly. The fans of Indiana, the LED court, and my man, Scotty. Good job, y'all. Y'all were winners this weekend. That's right. That was awesome. I love that so much. All right, Trevor's saying, good morning, Raptors family. Scotty made us proud. He was the sixth highest scorer for the team East with 16, 8, and 3. It was so much fun being at the All-Star game. It's got to be different, Trevor, than going to a regular season game because, I mean, hell, there's Bill Murray over there. There's Shaq. There's Dr. J. You know, you're seeing the luminaries, and there were more for the All-Star game than Saturday night. There were a bit better people as far as celebrity factor out there for the game last night. Yeah, but still, it's just not. I don't know. A lot of people would agree with me. The All-Star game is broken. The All-Star game is broken, and I don't know. How do you fix it? How the fuck do you fix it? They asked Anthony Edwards, "Would you do USA versus the world?" And he said the world doesn't have enough good players to play. And then he insulted Jamal Murray. They said, well, what about Jamal Murray? He could be added to the All-Stars. And Anthony Edwards said, Jamal Murray is not an All-Star. That is messed up, Anthony Edwards. You lucky son of a gun that you're born in the United States and you get to go to the All-Star games. Well, Jamal Murray in some ways is just as good as you, motherfucker. So, yeah, catch yourself. And honestly, that's a pretty arrogant, American-centric kind of view, Anthony Edwards, to think the world doesn't have enough good players to play a good game against the U.S. All-Stars. Yeah, you fuck around and find out. Let's try that format, and you will see. In some ways, the NBA doesn't want to do that because it may encourage, you think about the formula for that. You have to have half not American All-Stars. Maybe they don't like that. It's cultivating more international stars because one of the teams has to be completely not American. Yeah. Yeah, I know why you wouldn't do it like the NHL would, but in some ways it may be very smart to do in the future because the world is catching up USA. And stop being so arrogant, Anthony Edwards. Seriously, stop being so arrogant. Now that we have Commissioner Jay chiming in with his takes on the game yesterday, let's do a cosmic card of the day. Why not? Trevor Jay's here. He sent me the cosmic cards. I've got the cosmic card box, and this is just in honor of Scotty's All-Star Weekend. We're going to pull a card out. I'm going to see. I'm not going to look at which one it is. I'm going to see which classic cosmic card is the card of the day today. This is a fun segment. Of course, we're going to have Wild Card Wednesday this week, where I open a couple packs on Wednesday for the segment. All right, here we go. Oh, my gosh. This is kind of fitting. And in some ways, I wanted to talk about this person anyway. I got a Draymond Green card today, guys. This is NBA Hoops edition, Draymond Green. It's not as old as the other two that I got before. This is interesting. I wonder what year Draymond Green this is. This is interesting. I can't totally tell. But yeah, it's a Draymond card, which is kind of fitting considering Draymond Green was all over the All-Star weekend this weekend. He's not an All-Star, but he was all about the broadcast. In fact, him sitting there with Charles and Taylor doing the alt broadcast, in some ways, is such a cringe fest. NBA, I don't understand what you're doing with this guy. Seriously. It's like some of the people in our Facebook chat said, why does he get all these opportunities like Doc Rivers? Like, I don't get it. Like, I understand. Maybe you want him to go into broadcasting, but he's not that good, honestly. Like, if you're trying to make the next Charles Barkley for your broadcast after Charles retires eventually, this isn't your guy. I'm telling you right now. In some ways, this guy comes off on the TV screen like a psycho. He can be smiley and acting like this, but we've seen who he is on the court. And in some ways, he epitomizes the two-facedness of the NBA just in general. It's like, yeah, let's put on a good face and fake and act like we're happy people. But deep inside, we're crying inside and we're absolutely lashing out at everyone because we're upset with life in general. That's Draymond Green right there. In some ways, he's so cringe to me. He's so cringe to me. And the way that the NBA treats him, in some ways, it's just like really gross. Really, really gross. So fun. This is our cosmic card of the day, a Draymond Green hoops card. Blah, blah. Yeah, gross. Gross. Yeah. In some ways, I'm like, why? Why? Charles looked weird too. Like he's had plastic surgery. I guess if you're going to be on TV, you got to upkeep your appearance. But he's had some things lifted and tucked and weird. So his face looks really strange at this point. I feel bad for you, Charles, that you have that kind of vanity, that you can't age gracefully and just let your face be your face coming up on 61 this week. Yeah, in some ways, it's like this. I get it. You're on TV all the time. In some ways, it's important. You look like the old Charles Barkley from far away. But when you get close to your face, we can tell that work you've been had on you. Yeah, we can tell. We see it. We see it, Charles. All right, let's see. Bryce is here. Good to see Kentucky checking in. Bryce Lawson, not far from the All-Star weekend this weekend in Kentucky. I don't think that's too far from Indiana. Kentucky. That's pretty close, right? Bryce is saying, good morning, Lex and the Raptor Freaks. I enjoyed the game a lot. Scotty helping put that beat down on the loaded Western juggernauts was a somewhat enjoyable, but I have to say, I'd like to see some defense. Laugh out loud. Well, Scotty was one of the few trying to provide your request, Bryce Lawson. There was a little bit of defense. Some of the guys in the broadcast crew were saying, if anybody plays defense, I'll love it. I'll eat it up. They just were looking for people. And Kenny at one point says, Scotty's playing defense. I mean, it's just how it is. I mean, the All-Star game is broken. In some ways, the whole All-Star weekend is broken. It just can't recapture the magic of what it was before when they had magic. In some ways, that is part of the problem. You needed magic out there because he had that competitive spirit. And he knew that mentality of like him and Michael and Larry and them back in the day. They'd be like, okay, we'll goof around a bit. We'll give little jokey stuff like Luka and Nikola dunking during the game. That shit's hilarious. But when the time comes to hanker down and try and take it home to win, Well, we're going to try. We're going to try and compete, and we're going to make this a competitive match at some point. Well, when one team just blows the other team out, there's never that point near the end where they're scrambling and they're trying to like combat with a close score. So that was a fail. In some ways, the West letting the East run out on them so much was a big fail. And it's not like who cares. I mean, look at those coaches for the All Stars, Doc and Chris Finch. Those guys are hilarious. Those guys are like the weirdest like head coaches for All-Star weekend in a long time. Let me just say it that way. Really, really weird. I'm proud of the East. I'm glad we won. That's why we're on the victory wall. And yeah, Scotty can take a part in being a part of history. Think about it. They scored 213 points, the most points ever scored in the All-Star game, and Scotty is on that box score. And he had 16 of those. They don't get over 200 if Scotty doesn't get 16 of the 213. So Scotty's a part of history. And in some ways, I can tell he's riding high off this. I can tell he's riding high off this whole weekend. It's going to be very interesting to see how he returns. Seriously. Fiercey's here. Good morning to Fiercey Salsero, Scotty Barnes, Twitch family 2022. Yeah, morning, fam. Dana, Trevor, happy Monday. Trevor, how fun it must have been to attend the game. Gossip time, fam. I read players wouldn't pass the ball to Brunson, especially Brown. Ooh, gossip. Well, we'll do a little bit of that here in some ways. I could kind of tell that. I mean, there's going to be little weird feuds and riffs and weirdness. The whole placement of Paolo around Scotty is obviously a very easy person for Scotty to compare himself to. In some ways, the idea that Paulo was a straight up all-star and Scotty's an injury replacement is a little insulting. In some ways, he's a very easy person to be kind of like gauging yourself against. He came a year after you and he's the rookie year after you. And in some ways, you want to be ahead of him. And your logic of thinking, well, if I came the year before him, I should be ahead of him. I really do think that Banchero in particular, because they're similar body types, and there's a lot of similarities between the two of them that in some ways, if anybody, not that Scotty needs to be gauging himself to anyone, Paulo in some ways is the natural one that he probably is gauging himself against. Yeah, I don't know. Scott's so good about just being himself and not worrying about what everybody else is doing that he's going to be fine. He was so exuberant. He was doing the same stuff he does for the Raptors on the All-Star bench, yelling and clapping and cheering guys on from the bench the whole time. When I saw everybody get in, everybody except for Trey and him, because they were the injury replacements, they came in last. I felt a little bad for Scotty, but credit to Doc that he did end up giving him a good chunk of time out there. 18 minutes of run for Scotty Barnes, and he was not one of the lesser ones. I mean, Trey Young had the least amount of minutes, 14, and Brunson and Maxey and Adebayo only had 17. Mitchell only had 16. Scotty got 18. So in some ways, that's a good sign. I'll bet you Doc Rivers gave him a couple more minutes because of the effort, the way he played out there. I think that also Doc's probably a fan of Scotty's. He's probably, I think I've heard him say stuff about Scotty as a broadcaster that's very glowing. So I think that was part of it there too. That's interesting. Those kind of feuds and things like that, obviously there's your Eastern Conference, those are your rivals. And that kind of shit's on the other side too. Trust me. I always wonder about when Kevin's around Kawhi. Kevin and Kawhi have a weird history to each other, Durant and Leonard. And whenever they're around each other, I always wonder if there's like a little bit of uncomfortableness or how much they actually like each other. Because in some ways, just like what I talked about with Paulo and Scotty, in some ways, Kawhi and Kevin can be compared, or even LeBron in that whole conversation too. So very, very interesting stuff here, see? And I wouldn't put it past that. I wouldn't put it past that the Celtics froze out the Nick player in the All-Star game last night. Bryce is saying a somewhat enjoyable experience. Yeah, I think it was mostly good. I don't know. If I'm thinking overall and I'm gauging this year's All-Star weekend to Utah's last year, I think this year was better. I think the factor that the game went to 200 and Scotty being involved in this game made it more entertaining. Siakam was great last year for us too, but this was his second time getting the All-Star. It wasn't as lustrous as his first. And in some ways, it's just like the Utah weekend was just really bad. Like last year was really, really bad. And I think that they improved a little bit. Adam Silver, I think that y'all did just a smidge better, but not really that much better. That this All-Star weekend sucked too, honestly. But it was better than last year. I'll give you that. How about that? Fiercely saying, I was focused on Scotty, so I don't care about that. Laugh out loud. Now I have negative and positive feedback from yesterday's so-called event. My goodness. No, you're good. You're good. Yeah, I don't know who you're talking about. If you're putting stuff out and people are reacting to your opinions on that game, yeah. I don't know. There's going to be a lot of different stuff. Some people that hate Scott are going to point out the lumps from this weekend, like losing the ball in the skills challenge. That's a big one. Some of the people are going, and then some people are trying to goof on Scott for taking backwards half court shots on that. They're trying to make him sound like he's a clown. Well, okay, you guys keep not taking him seriously. You'll find out too late. Keep taking anything not seriously because you'll find out at some point. Trust me. Bryce said, laugh out loud. Brown had second most points on East, and Brunson sat the corner the whole game. Yeah, I have no problem with them freezing out Jalen Brunson. Let's remember, he's the first time All-Star. And in some ways, he may not be as popular. It seemed like Scotty was in the flow of things, so people were looking for him, and he was looking for other people too. I mean, that may be part of it. It could be that, some guys are just not that popular because of their personalities. I think Scotty's a pretty popular guy in general because a lot of people look at him and they're like, man, you're so skilled, and they admire him for being like a personable person also. So yeah, I'm not surprised by this. In some ways, Jalen Brunson is his father's son. I'm not surprised by that. Let's see. Fiercely saying good morning to Bryce. Good morning to everybody. I love it. Let's see what else y'all are saying in the reaction to the Sunday night NBA All-Star game, number 73, I think, or something. What did they say? What number it was? 73, I think. 73rd All-Star game. Were y'all excited about it? Tell me which players you were excited to see and what plays you like. Just tell me anything about the All-Star game. We're reacting to it today. That's right. Bryce is saying the way Scotty runs kills me. He's very bulky. He's a very big guy, but he's so agile and quick running up the court. In some ways, he's just like Shaq. Shaq is so huge, but he is inexplicably quick as hell. Like Scotty's got the quickness to size ratio is probably the same kind of factor like Shaq. He's not as big as Shaq, obviously, but he's definitely more agile than Shaq. So it's like you get a little bit smaller big guy like him, but he's incredibly agile like Shaq. That's the interesting thing about Scotty is he's got that same kind of size agility combo like Shaquille used to. That's something that people aren't saying enough about because it's not the same level, obviously. But whatever he lacks in size compared to Shaq, he makes up with increased speed, is what I would say. So yeah, he's something else. He's something else as an athlete. And I love that he's eating right better. He's really taking care of his body right. He's working out and doing the weightlifting like crazy, and he is showing the results. In some ways, you can look at Scotty's skin and the way that his body is with water retention and maybe with like hydration, and he looks way healthier than he did as a rookie. In some ways, when he was a rookie, he had breakouts. He would have acne and stuff like that, and that's really from eating junk food. That's really from eating like a lot of chips and just Chick-fil-A and fast food. Well, Scotty cut that shit out. Part of the reason why he had this leap is not just the work from last year, it's his nutrition. And you can tell by the way his skin looks. That is a big part of like how you will feel or look at your age. That's a big secret for me, to look younger at almost 50 is that if I eat right and I take care of myself, if I hydrate, drink a lot of water, my cells of my body will be healthy and happy, and it'll show in a glow in your whole way you feel and your energy. And I feel like Scotty's health, nutrition wise, is fantastic. And you can see it in the way his skin is right now. He's very, very healthy. You can tell he's very, very healthy right now. Let's see. Fiercely saying, so to those saying the West was stacked, like really? What a poor effort. Luka and Jokic clearly trolling. Yeah, funny stuff. I like that whole run down the court where they passing the ball back and forth, no dribbles, and Reggie was eating it up too. I mean, those guys were like they were like the two stooges. It's almost like we need a third one to go with them, and we can call them the Three Stooges because they act like it. And obviously, Jokic is curly. Obviously. I don't know. I think Luca would be Larry. We need to get somebody angry to be like, maybe LeBron is Mo. Mo is LeBron. Oh, that's funny. Only Cat and Curry tried. LeBron vanished. I feel for fans from that conference. Straight trash. Yeah, I don't know if I look at it that way. I mean, those guys are really talented. In some ways, the way they handle the game, honestly, in some ways, the way it should be. You know, Nikola and Luca not really giving a shit about the All Star game or thinking it's a joke. You know, never really caring. I mean, Nikola did more in this All Star game than any of the ones before. LeBron, the reason why he sat was he's hurt. So he came in and did one stint, and then they didn't play him for the rest of the game, which is rightfully so. He doesn't need to be out there possibly injuring himself. And also, you know, it's not like anybody hasn't seen LeBron in an All-Star game. I mean, he's got 3 MVPs. So yeah, that was pretty interesting. I thought that Steph Curry was half trying. He was trying. It was weird because this game kind of turned into long distance shooting fest with Halliburton, Lillard, Curry, and Trae Young and all these guys taking so many half court shots. And there were so many in the game, like, and Lillard dotting the end of the game with a half court shot right at the end. Yeah, that sealed his MVP right there. That sealed his MVP there. He had 2 huge half court shots, legit half court shots, not just logo shots. That was legitimately at the half court line. And that's really impressive. Honestly, it is super impressive. And he deserved it. He did deserve being MVP. But once again, it's like, what is this script writing for the NBA in some ways? I get it. I mean, he told Giannis, I want to get the MVP today. And Giannis knew he was going for it. He's like, I'll help you. And they were feeding him. Maybe Halliburton wanted to do it for his hometown. Well, it wasn't in the cards. In some ways, I don't think Halliburton got to play enough to do it. But yeah, and then Jaylen Brown kind of trying to sneak up and take that MVP at the end, but no, it didn't happen. I thought that Cat was hilarious. His little reverse dunks that he kept doing and his threes. He is really a very powerful player in basketball. I saw last year at FIBA the way he would carry Dominican Republic was absolutely overpowering. And in some ways, you see in this kind of exhibition environment just how badass Cat can be as far as the 3-point accuracy and just the size and skill of him. He really is an underrated player in this league. He really, really is. Cat is very, very good. Very, very good. 50 points in the All-Star good. Let's see. Fiercely saying no defense throughout the game, which I guess was perfect for Lillard because he never plays defense anyway. Boom goes the dynamite. Fiercely, you want to dunk for, just clear truth. It's funny because it's true. That's why it's funny, because it's true. Yeah, I can't argue with anything she said right there. Fiercely saying also 3-point shootout, barely any playmaking or exciting connections between the players. Honestly, boring as fuck. Only bright side for me was our number 4. He did phenomenal, and he loved it. In some ways, Scotty was joyful last night. I mean, really, in some ways, he had to pinch himself. Like I said, look at where you were, Scotty, last night. Look at what you were doing. Look at where you were doing on the court with who you were doing it. And look at how much you were successful. And look how much you belonged. Look how much you fit right in. It's not like you went out there and was like, yeah, that guy shouldn't be here. No, you look like you very much belong with the greatest players in the world in the NBA in that All-Star game last night, Scotty. So let that be known to your brain and go forward this information, my man. Go forward with this information. That's what I'm saying. Fiercely saying he did defense, took rebounds, shot 3-pointers, few dunks here and there. Great job, Scotty. Also, I looked at the box score and he played more minutes than Mitchell or even Bam. Yeah, that's a good sign. In some ways, those guys have played before. Bam doesn't care. Bam came out there, hit a 3, and that was good enough for him. It's like, I've done a couple of these All-Stars. It's like, whatever. That's a lot of it sometimes. Sometimes the guys that have a little bit of nagging injuries like LeBron, they may not make as long appearances. And it may be that's part of the reason why. Trae Young or Bam Adebayo are not feeling totally 100%. Maybe they're like, yeah, you don't have to play me that much. Just put me out there. I've come to these all the time. Give the young guys some chances. It's interesting how all the first-time All-Stars were on the Eastern side and all the long-time All-Stars on the other side. In fact, Steph Curry had some weird patches on his uniform before the game that was like nobody else had. I'm like, what the fuck is all this shit on Steph's warm-up? I mean, all right, listen, this is how I know that was some bullshit. Because first of all right, I see that trophy on there. Okay, I see that symbolizes the 3-point shootout championship. Well, Dame Lillard is too. Why didn't he have that 3-point trophy on his little shoulder too. It's like they gave Steph some special little warm up uniform that had all these extra things on it. The NBA in some ways, it really tells on itself for being insecure. In some ways, the whole thing about having the little thing on the back of the jerseys that has the gold little box with the number of championships each team has, in some ways, they had to do this to kind of make the teams that have a lot of championships feel good about themselves, even if they're losing a lot. I've always thought that was cheesy as fuck. I don't mind them having it on there to symbolize teams that have championships, but it really is kind of like a thing for the Lakers and Celtics to lord over people and have like, oh, I've got a 17 on here. The same thing can be said about last night with the All-Star jerseys, where they had the number of All-Stars for each person on and a number on the back. But yeah, I thought it was really fishy that Steph Curry had all these weird patches. And some of the other guys should have had the same patches as him, like Dame Lillard and LeBron. He would have like the MVP patches on his thing. So I don't know why Steph Curry gets a special warm up that has patches on it. NBA. I don't know why you do that, and like you don't do it for everybody. If you're gonna do little special patches, make sure everybody's accomplishments are represented, and not just Steph Curry and his silly little outfit. There should, other guys have accomplishments too that should have had patches on theirs. If it's just all-star related patches and not MVPs for finals like Kawhi Leonard would have, this is what I'm wondering. Why don't you put all that shit on there and show everybody all the accomplishments of everybody? Why? Because LeBron's warm-up jersey may not have any room on it other than patches. Honestly, that's probably true. So, yeah, very interesting in some ways about the West being older and the youngsters on the East getting, all the new players in the All-Star were from the East. That's an interesting thing to me. Yeah. Let's see. Fiercely saying if Scotty played more minutes, he would have definitely gotten a triple-double. He needed to focus more on assists. In some ways, he wasn't looking to assist the way he normally does with the Raptors. I mean, it's partly because there's so many good assist guys out there in general in the All-Star game. But yeah, he would have needed to kick it up and try and get those assists more regularly throughout the whole game with only 3 assists. But yeah, he could have for sure. I think in the future, we're going to see. I'm going to predict this. This guy's going to get an all-star triple-double at some point in his career. Yeah, I'll say that right now. I mean, he's pretty close to it in his first one. Not totally close, but closer than most people would get in their first ever all-star game. Trevor's saying when reporters asked Scotty about Darko's comments about he is the face of the NBA, he said, that's my coach. He stands up for his guys, and I love that guy. I love that too. I mean, I'm telling you, there's a lot of good things going on with the Raptors right now. It may feel like things are icky and loosey and sucky, but it's really not like that. I'm going to tell you that right now. Things are good. And we're gonna have a whole new kind of refreshment to the start of the next part of the season. In some ways, it's going to be very, very fun to see how these guys look after some rest, maybe some time reflecting and thinking about the new look of the team and what their role and their part in it is. These guys come back after reflection. You may be surprised just how much more they gel and fit together because they're kind of taking a break and able to kind of reset. It's really, really going to be good. Once again, if you guys did not watch me yesterday, tomorrow, this next month is the coaches open house for the Raptors. I went to this event last year. It was fantastic. Nick Nurse and all the coaches talked. I got to watch a close practice. Well, they're having it again next month on March the 19th. It's a Tuesday, and it's open to everybody, and it's free. You do not have to actually be a coach. But if you aspire to be a coach or you want to learn more about basketball and the way it's coached, this is a fantastic event. And Adriana's going to come with me, and y'all can come with me too if you want. So it's an open invite to all the Raptor freaks out there. If you're available on Tuesday morning, March the 19th, to go to the Scotiabank Arena for that day and sit in for the coaches open house and come down there and sit with us and take it, watch it. And part of the fun is they have a whole entire Raptors practice with all the players involved on the court right in front of you, a closed practice with only like a couple hundred people in there. So I highly recommend anybody who has the freedom and the time to come in to the coaches open house with me on March the 19th. Please come down there. And if enough people come, maybe we'll go to lunch and we'll have a meet and greet after that. So that's Tuesday, March the 19th. the coaches open house. I will be going for sure. And anybody who has the time and is able to go and wants to join me, you're more than welcome. It'll be a lot of fun. And I'm very interested to see the difference in how Darko runs the coaches open house and how Nick Nurse ran it the last time I went. So yeah, definitely keep this in mind. If you can go, you can find the information for how to sign up and just let me know you're going to, and we'll make arrangements to meet outside and we'll go in and we'll sit in the same area together and we'll just hang out and take it in. It's a fantastic event. I highly recommend it. And honestly, if you're a Raptors fan, like we are, like a die hard Raptors fan, this is an event you want to go to. Even if you have no aspirations to be a coach, even if you really don't know enough, well, you could start somewhere and come down there and maybe you'll learn something about coaching and maybe boom, all of a sudden you are coaching because you went to the coach's open house. It's an awesome event. Please come with me, is what I'm saying. All right, let's keep going. I love this Scotty's talking about his coach like that. And obviously, the future is bright. Scotty, you know what? If he didn't like his coach, if he didn't like his team, would he be happy right now? No, he wouldn't. And he loves the Raptors. He loves what's going on with us. And he knows there's a bright future for him. Chris is here. All right. Good to see Chris. MSJ saying the side moments, miss Luka's dunk. Yeah, he was funny. Him and Nikola both had crazy dunks. And then he had this one dunk where he hit the front of the rim and it was a total brick, but it was awesome. Luka and Nikola are just big kids. They can't help it. I mean, there was like a footage of like Nikola sneaking up behind Luka this weekend and dumping bottle water down his back of his shirt. Like, oh, and of course Luka knows who it is. He turns around, oh, Nikola, you prankster. They're just not serious people. In some ways, they really are. It's pretty funny. Let's see, Cat dunking it to 50 points. That's pretty impressive. He was really going for it at some point. I mean, he really was trying to get the ball and score like crazy. And he just has that right mix of skills to get him in a couple different ways. Barnes took over late third. Yeah, there was a section where he kind of took over for a bit. Double 2 threes in a row real quick and kind of a scoring outburst. In some ways, I gauge the All-Star game by minutes to points. And Scotty, not bad. 18 minutes, he had 16 points. So that's not bad points to minute ratio. It's really not bad at all. I mean, of course, Towns, 50 points to 28 minutes is absolutely insane. SGA had a really good All-Star game also, 31 points in 28 minutes. Really proud of our guy, SGA, representing Canada and the Oklahoma City Thunder. 12 of 16 shooting, 7 of 10 from 3, 4 rebounds, 6 assists, 1 steal, 31 points for SGA. Yeah, there were quite a few guys who were bombing. A lot of threes in this game by both teams. 42 makes by the East team, which is insane. 42 three-pointers made. Holy crap. 11 by Lillard, 10 by Halliburton, 6 by Jaylen Brown. Jason Tatum had 4. Donovan Mitchell had 3. Scotty, Jalen, and Tyrese all had 2. Yeah, so there's a lot of threes by the Eastern team, that's for sure. And listening to Miller's stories, Reggie's, in some ways, Reggie is Indiana, and he really was going to have to figure prominently in this weekend. The broadcast was a little different on Sunday night than Saturday night. I think they had a talk with Kenny Smith. I think that Kenny Smith got in a lot of trouble after Saturday night because honestly, he did ruin that moment. JJ Redick recently talked about how when he does commentary, you just got to understand he's telling the story of what's happening. And if there's something happening that's important or kind of like bigger than the game, you should really treat it with a certain care and responsibility in your call because your call will be the thing people hear. And Kenny saying something stupid about she should have used the WNBA line right after the competition ruined that moment. It really, really did. And Kenny Smith got huge backlash for his comments on Saturday night. And you saw him on Sunday doing the All-Star game. He is eating humble pie. That man was so much more subdued on Sunday compared to Saturday. He's going off and talking and just acting like an idiot, saying all this out-of-pocket shit the whole night. And a lot of people on Twitter are saying Kenny Smith is ruining All-Star Saturday night because of just his whining and just his stupid shit that he's saying. Well, Kenny wasn't talking out of pocket last night. In fact, he was shutting the fuck up for most of the broadcast last night. It was hilarious. I could tell he was humbled by his really fucking stupid mistake This is a huge moment. It's a historic moment, and you drop the ball, man. You could have had like a Havlicek stole the ball kind of moment, but instead you showed your misogyny and your male chauvinism in that moment. You're an idiot. So yeah, you dropped the ball, and you may have been worried about losing your job, and that's part of the reason why you were acting really docile and humble pie last night. Humble pie, Kenny Smith. Yeah, you ate it. Reggie, very much interesting calling the game. He was pretty good, pretty good. I like that Candace was there with him. In some ways, they fucked up. They should have had a female in the broadcast on Saturday, and Sue Bird calling him out for it on Twitter herself. Sue Bird, the great WNBA player, and saying, so much nuance and so much about this moment of Sabrina versus Steph is missed because there's nobody given the context that it needed from the perspective of a female. And that is so true. I think that the NBA is stupid. In some ways, they don't really plan shit correctly and they step in it and then they apologize later. In some ways, y'all need better planners that kind of can look outside from the outside in before you do this shit. Event organizers, like maybe you need to think about the crews that you're putting together for different things. And the oversight of not having a single female in the broadcast crew for Saturday night's huge event was really, really stupid. Like really, really, really dumb. So yeah, TNT and ESPN and the NBA doing damage control because of really fucking dumbass shit. I'm so happy to see the people coming out and saying just how this is unacceptable and fucked up. How the broadcast crew treated the shootout between Steph and Sabrina. And a lot of the female, the NBA, WNBA players, a lot of the greats, really vocal about this, talking about how insulted they were by it, and rightfully so. Rightfully so. Yeah, yeah. Let's see. Homeless crooks. Homeless crooks. Yeah, that was interesting what Charles was saying about San Francisco. And I like it because in some ways he hates Golden State. He very much does. And I like that he was putting it down to Draymond's face, sitting right next to him. In some ways, it's like, I wonder how Charles feels about Draymond. In some ways, he probably, like deep down inside, thinks he's a knucklehead and an idiot because he probably sees partly some of the things about himself he doesn't like. And he's kind of like, you know what? You're an idiot. If I could change how I did things in the NBA, I wouldn't have done certain things that I made mistakes with, like spitting on that little girl in the front row at a Sixers game once. Yeah, Charles did that once. He spit on a little girl once. But yeah, a lot of mistakes that Draymond's making right now is like kind of like Barkley can see himself in it. And he's probably like, you're an idiot. You are an idiot. And I really don't think that Draymond, anything they did to him this year as far as punishment for the things he did worked at all. And I think they encourage him. It's like NBA, if you really want Draymond to get help and to stop being such a psycho on the court, stop giving him broadcasting gigs. How about that? Seriously. It's like you're sending him to therapy. It's kind of like you guys are like really two-faced with him. It's like either you're like, oh, we love you. You're a budding broadcasting star and we have plans for you in the future. But also, why are you such a psycho on the court? And why are you beating people up? You could hurt people. You really don't send the right message to him because I feel like y'all are emboldening him to be who he is on the court. Well, at the same time, you slap him on the wrist. Yeah. Yeah. NBA, in some ways, like I said, you've made a monster out of Draymond Green and you continue to promote him as a wholesome broadcaster. Fuck that shit. Fuck that shit. A lot of us can see who Draymond is from how he acts on the court. And that's all we need to know. That's all we need to know. Yeah, he was funny when he called San Francisco people homeless crooks. Yeah, that's what Charles said. Charles said that about Golden State. And so it was like, that's funny. That's funny. And Carnival Cruises with Shaq, that was hilarious too. That was really interesting. They tried to fake everybody out with the court, making it trying to look like it's the LED court, but it was an overlay on the screen. And you could tell the Carnival Cruises cornucopia of excellence and light and coming up out of the court. Yeah, that was an overlay. And that was not seen in the arena, only on screens at home with the whole big Carnival advertisement, Carnival Cruise Line on there, and Shaq with his shit, and the birthday messages with his Shaq in the Box thing. That was goofy too. Shaq with the saxophone. A lot of goofy Shaq stuff last night for sure. Yeah. Yeah. Shaq's interesting, man. He's a really interesting dude. And in some ways, I feel bad for him, but in some ways I don't. In some ways I don't. There's been recently things Shaq talking about how he lost his family, and how he wishes he hadn't done that. Like he really screwed up. Like when he retired and in his broadcasting career, he went a little crazy. He was doing that Magic Johnson, Wilt Chamberlain life, and he was married to Shawnee, and Shawnee found out, and he destroyed his family. And now Shaq's this retired NBA player with tons of money, but he's single. And you think that he'd be so happy because he can go out and see anybody. I'm sure Shaq has groupies in every place he goes to, but that's empty life. And Shaq would have it the other way if he could actually have his family in his life instead. But he fucked that up because he went the Playboy lifestyle. And in some ways, he can't fix that at this point. So that is Shaq's ultimate misery right now, that his family is not intact. And he's a lonely, rich former NBA player by himself at this point. His kids, yeah, sure, he's got his kids, but he doesn't have his family because he doesn't have her. Yeah, it's a sad tale. It's a cautionary tale. Let's just put it that way. Let's just put it that way. Seymour saying Scotty Barnes got his paws dirty. I like it. Maybe Grady in 4 years, all-star prediction. Let's go, Raptors. Seymour, that's a lofty prediction. I'll say maybe Grady's in the three-point shootout in 4 years. But yeah, him being an all-star himself, wow. Wow. Well, then I would be like Bobby and Masai were right with number 13, Grady Dick last year. If he ends up an all-star, I will be like, holy crap, that's really good. I won't be upset. I don't know how likely that is, Seymour. I don't know how it is. Let's see. Fiercely saying A- for Jokic. I'm sorry. I love the Joker, but his efforts were not A- worthy. Lex, how was Donovan Mitchell graded? He played like shit. All right, let me go over the grades real quick with you guys just for fun, and we can laugh at them and say, well, this is stupid. All right, first, Giannis got an A-. Jason Tatum got a B+. Tyrese got an A. Dame Lillard, the MVP, only got an A. Bam Adebayo got a B. He only scored 3 points, and he got a B. And Scotty got a B+. It's kind of stupid. Paulo got a B+. Jalen got an A. Jalen Brown. Donovan Mitchell got a B- is what he got. Jalen Brunson got a B-. Maxey got a B. Trey Young got a B. Scotty Barnes got a B+. Western Conference, LeBron got a B-. I mean, these are so dumb. Honestly, it's like some of these guys didn't score hardly anything or hardly play. Jokic got an A-. Durant got a B+. SGA got an A. Luka got a C+. He said, "I don't dunk." Steph Curry got a B-. Devin Booker got a B. Anthony Davis, who got 6 points, got a B+. Tell me they don't like kiss the ass of the Lakers. They're giving Anthony Davis a B+, the same grade as Scotty, for 6 points, 8 rebounds, 8 assists. Come on now. I know it's 8 rebounds, 8 assists, but who cares? Paul George, A-. Kawhi, C+. Anthony Edwards, C+. Carl Anthony Towns, A. And yeah, that's it. Those are the grades. Yeah, they're stupid. There's a lot of A's and B's. I don't see any D's or F's. There's not a lot of D's or F's in there. It probably should be, but they don't want to cause any trouble. Let's see. Paul B saying, great experience for Scotty. Hopefully it leads to better foul calls now and finding other free agents who want to team up with him. Yeah, I don't like that last part. In some ways, we're not doing this shit, Paul. In some ways, it's more likely to work against us, what you're talking about, than for us. Nah, I don't want to do this. Like, I don't want him go to these events and try and politic trying to be teammates with anybody. Fuck that shit. Let's let Masai and Bobby do the movements for our team. And Scotty doesn't need to go there and like talk to people and say, hey, why don't you come to Toronto? Because honestly, if he was doing that, I don't want people doing that in reverse. So Paul B, let's not wish for shit like this. Seriously, trying to find other free agents to team up with. Let's let Bobby Masai handle that. And Scotty doesn't need to be recruiting, and nobody needs to be recruiting Scott the other way. Let's just put it that way. That kind of environment and that kind of mentality is really toxic for this league. And I discourage anyone trying to do that bullshit the Heatles did 20 years ago, where they all went in cahoots and made designs for how they wanted to go their career paths. So no, Paul B, fuck that shit is what I'm going to say. Fuck that shit. The other part, getting better foul calls, yes. Yes, but fuck the second part of your comment. Cool Cat saying, good morning, Raptor Freak crew. I was laughing a lot during this game. East team wanted a 3-point shooting fest. Yeah, there was a lot of laughter. I was laughing about it too. Luca was making me laugh, and so was Nicola. And yeah, in some ways, the seriousness of Dame in context with that was kind of funny. There's like there's these two guys joking around completely, and then the Dame Lillard's out there looking like he wants to take somebody's head off. It's kind of funny. The context, the contrast, for sure. Really pretty funny. Let's see. Fiercely saying at Dana, definitely sarcastic, and I'm here for it. Okay. Yeah, I'm totally with you guys. I'm with you. I mean, in some ways, it was entertaining, but also at the same time, this is lame. And it's not as fun as when Bird and Magic and all them were doing the All-Star game. It's definitely not. Fiercely saying this game wasn't it, and next year I may boycott it if there are no Raptors participating. Honestly, Steph versus Sabrina was more of a highlight. Yeah, let's talk about which part of the All-Star weekend we thought was the best part. If I'm really thinking about it, I think the skills competition was my favorite whole part. Even if it was convoluted and it was kind of janky and not totally fair to Scotty's team, I think that what Scotty did in that was really awesome. And the fact that they were guinea pigs and they had to do all the challenges before everybody else to show them how to do them, that's a really great that they got second. In some ways, I could say that a competition was fixed for the Pacers to win, and if you really did it in a way that was fair and unbiased, I bet you that Team All Star would have won. If you really, really were doing a real skills competition and you really tested the skills of the three skills that they tested dribbling, passing, shooting, and dribbling, passing, and shooting, the Scotty's team was the best team. So I'd say either that competition, maybe the shootout between Sabrina and Steph, and the Rising Stars were the three best events of the weekend. I think that those three were maybe the Rising Stars and the All Star game were too similar, though. I don't know. Maybe it's a tie. So I'd say the skills competition is my favorite, then the shootout between Steph and Sabrina, and then a tie between the All Star game and the Rising Stars as the next best, third best competitions. But in some ways, they weren't very good. Really wasn't very good overall, is the way I look at it. Yeah, I will boycott the All-Star weekend when there's no Raptors involved. Just so you know, Adam Silver, going forward, you better have a Raptors representative somewhere in the All-Star weekend, somewhere, or I'll boycott it. If it's the game and there's no All-Star for the Raptors, well, we probably won't watch the Sunday game. Maybe there's somebody just in a dunk competition or the three-point shootout. Yeah, I think Scotty's going to be making the All-Star pretty regularly going forward, though. I think that once this door is open and he plays a certain level of play, the Raptors win more. Yeah, it's inevitable. If he can make the All Star this year with this conditions, he should make it more often in the future when we win more and he's better and he's carrying us even more. So I think this is just the first of many to come right in a row. Chris is saying, but what really wasn't a game for that. We need to put some money on the table. Easy fix. NBA needs to stake 100,000 for each winning player, or turn on that LED court and fuck around with the game. Laugh out loud. You know what? Honestly, those are two good choices, Chris. I think that you're really onto something. Like I think that you're right. Those are maybe the two ways you can save this game. In some ways, you should treat this game exactly how you treat the celebrity game, NBA. Seriously. That Ruffles celebrity game that you have on Friday night is fun and it's crazy and it's got all these bells and whistles. Well, if the players aren't going to take the game seriously, Chris is right. We should lean into the LED court and make it an enhanced experience. And in some ways, not even worry about um, the sanctity or the tradition of the All-Star game. Let's have it make it really fun. Let's make it where there's special charity hotspots where if guys run to those hotspots and they make the shot, they get a whole bunch of money for a charity. They're also saying if they put money in front of people for the dunk competition, they'd show up. John Morant tweeting after somebody said, "Hey, we pay you $1 million to do dunk competition." He's like, "Yeah, I'll do it." That may be what they need to do is stop being cheap and just put a really good prize money up front. It's not even about if you win. Just pay them $1 million each for doing the show. If you really make so much off of advertising, think about how much you made off of Dominique and Michael Jordan in the 80s. Well, this is a good investment. You want to invest $1 million in John Morant in the dunk competition. Well, that's a good investment. In some ways, it's the same thing. What you're saying is invest in paying these guys and motivate them money-wise for the All-Star game and playing higher. I don't know if they'll do that in some ways. I don't know if that's the right way to do it. We've incentivized so much stuff for these NBA players at this point, the IST and incentives for making the playoffs and their contracts. It's not even like the money is exactly getting people there. It really has to be a crazy amount. So I don't know. I like your second idea. I think that if we lean into gaming it more like a pinball kind of weird ass game with lots of bells and whistles and innovations and just new kind of weird shit, that it could be fun. And it may even be fun for the players because it's kind of like they can compete with the newness of the LED kind of games that can be derived and created. That in some ways it's like, they could come out there and it's like, oh, I'm gonna hit all the hot spots, or I'm gonna try this like thing. They gotta be really smart with how they design the rules for an LED All-Star game. They've getting a lot of good feedback and trying stuff out with the celebrity game. But yeah, if the All-Star game looks more like the celebrity game in the future, I might not be upset about that because the whole All-Star game is a joke anyway. So why not lean right into it? I think Chris is smart here. I think he's got gold, so to speak, today, Chris. You've got gold with this one. That let's lean into hokiness. I'm with you on this. The money, it may not get them the right way, and that idea may. That idea may. Seymour saying the West team showed up for the celebs in the media. The East showed up for the love of the game and for the fans. I don't disagree with this. I mean, they may be different individually and different people, but yeah, I think the West just showed up because their legacy. Like we've been coming for a long time. Kawhi Leonard finally in an All-Star game after a long time. It's very weird to see Kawhi back in an All-Star jersey out there running around. With how much he's been hurt. And, he's missed a lot of All-Stars in his career. He should have probably been on because he's been hurt too. So it's kind of cool to see Kawhi out there in the All-Star game. And of course, the cast of characters is out there is very fun. It's going to be kind of like what Scotty, like what LeBron was doing on the bench. Did you hear what LeBron was saying? He's like, when I played in my first All-Star game, yeah, we had Bill Russell, Oscar Robertson on the All-Star team with me. And they're everybody's like, what? What? He's like, you're not that old. And he's like, yeah, that was the first. And he's like, no, I'm just kidding. My first year, I was like Michael and Kevin Garnett and Grant Hill. And he's like, oh, okay. Well, Scotty, in some ways, because he's kind of like in a transitory period with these older players that are going to retire in the next few years, he'll be able to say in like 10, 15 years, the first time I went to All-Star, it was with Kevin Durant, Kawhi Leonard, LeBron James, Steph Curry, all these guys who are probably going to retire in the next 5 years that won't be around at some point. So that's kind of cool in some ways that to think about that. To think about that. Yeah. Fiercely saying happy family day, fam. Showed slow day at work, hence why I'm filing this chat. There you go. I love it, Fiercely. I love that. Yeah, it's family day here in Canada, long weekend. Not much traffic out on the street because nobody had to go to, a lot of people didn't have to go to work today. So yeah, it's a quiet day. It's like a second Sunday in a row outside on the street here in the city right now. Let's see, Seymour. Yes, what you said. Yeah, I think that it's pretty on point. I think that Scotty came to this All-Star game with the love of the game. Yeah. And he came and he gave the right effort. He gave the effort that he would have. I mean, he was running up and all over out the court. There's a while in the first half when Scotty was out there. It's like, man, I feel like he's just running cardio. I feel like he's just running up and down the court. He's not really doing anything. But no, he was. He was. They were looking for him. He was making himself an open target. And he was looking for people too. And yeah, Scotty just played his game. And it worked real well there. It worked really well there. Let's see. Cool Cat saying NBA All-Star Scott Barnes, the first of his draft class. Yes, Alex, I agree. It will be a confidence boost and will show up on the court. He's in another stratosphere. Yeah, I hope he stays grounded and mature in certain ways, but also run with that swagger. Run with that new energy too, Scott. In some ways, you don't want to come back and be lording over your teammates as the All-Star on the team, but you also do want to have that swagger. And wield that power and wield it justly. I have full confidence in you, Scott, that you're going to come back and you're going to do it right. That's right. Fiercely saying, I'm telling you, Dame collecting all the awards this weekend because he knows he ain't going to win with the Bucks. Yeah, and he's even doing more press saying, I hate how championship or bust mentality is around the league. Like everybody's going to judge me for my whole entire career, even though because I didn't win a championship. And that'll be, yeah, that's just the way it fucking goes, bro. I'm sorry. And don't act like, seriously, still don't believe you're a top 75 player of all time. I really don't. I really don't. Like I said, you are like nowadays like Rolando Blackman. You're like nowadays Alex English. These guys scored a lot of points, but they're not talked about like Larry. They're not talking about like Magic. They're not talked about like Michael Jordan because those are guys that won championships. And Alex English didn't win a championship. And that's who you are. You are like Alex English. Alex English scored the most points in the whole entire 1980s out of all the players in that decade. He scored the most points, but he didn't have a championship, and nobody talks about him in any kind of way at this point. Dame Lillard, in a lot of ways, that's who you should be. There's a lot of these guys that are acting like they're top level superstars that ain't done jack shit, that don't deserve that accolade. There's guys from our team that deserve it more than they do, like Siakam and Van Vliet and Lowry. These guys are real champions in some ways. Tony Parker, he's a champion. Manu Ginobili, he's a champion. In some ways, propping up people like James Harden, Damian Lillard, these fucking losers never won nothing. That's what I'm saying. Now, Harden may win one this year, and then he'll be okay. That's the thing I'm saying. It's like in eras, there's always been good scorers, but they get forgotten. And that's what Lillard is to me. In a lot of ways, he could go the way of Alex English. Now, I love Alex English. He's an important part of the Raptors' history, being an assistant coach for us at a certain time, too. And there's no disrespect. But a lot of people don't talk about Alex English. And honestly, Dame Lillard's resume is the same as Alex English's in a lot of different ways. That's what I'll say right there. Yeah. You know what? Let's do the Instagram stories real quick. We're going to start off with Jordan Wara. He's in Buffalo hanging out with friends in Buffalo this weekend. So that's how he's spending his All-Star weekend at home in Buffalo. So he doesn't have to go that far. He's hanging out with all his buddies on the court. Scotty's with his two good pals at the All-Star weekend. And I love seeing this. He's with Nardo and Patrick. These guys are definitely old buddies of his from Florida State. They're guys that frequented the Twitch chat. We would see him talking to them. And I know Nardo coming to be there for the All-Star weekend means a lot to Scotty. I'm not going to lie, seriously, because Nardo, he lives in South America, I believe. So him being up for this Indy All-Star weekend really means a lot to Scott. Really, really does. So it's good to see him with Patrick and Nardo right now this weekend. Then we see him standing on the stage, and Chris Boucher posted a picture of him at All-Star saying, "Live it up, my dog, man. I'm proud of you, my dog." And Scotty reposted Chris, showing respect for him being an All-Star. That's fantastic. We see Patrick with Scotty in his All-Star jersey on the court. Really, really great that his friends were there to be around him. In some ways, I'd rather you hang out with your real friends from before Scotty than get all mixed up with people like Jalen and Jason. Just go hang out with your FSU friends or your friends from down south in South Florida and fucking all the other bullshit. You do your thing, man. Yeah, and here he is. He had a really weird time trying to lift up the East Championship trophy. He's like, I don't know if he's acting, but it looked like it was really heavy. He was having a hard time lifting it. And I don't know if y'all caught this after the game when Dame Lillard won the MVP. Scotty tried to dump some water on his head from his bottle of water. I think he had been drinking it already too. And he just open it up. He's gonna dump it on Dame, and Dame was not having it. Dame saw what Scotty was about to do, and he's like, "No, dog, don't do that." And so Scotty stopped, and he didn't do it. So it's kind of like Scotty had a little I hope nobody's pointing this out too much. I just brought it up because we're Raptor freaks and we look at everything. But I really hope nobody's got that clip and they're going to play it all over the place because they might. It's a little reminiscent of Scotty saying, "I want to hug you" to Tyrese Maxey when Scotty was going to dump water on Dame Lillard's head after he won the MVP, but then he didn't. It's probably a good decision you didn't because we don't need Dame Lillard to be mad at you for the rest of your career while he's still playing and taking it out on you because you ruined a moment like that for him. Nobody else was there to dump water on him. And it's not like you're dumping a Gatorade on him for winning a championship or doing something crazy. I mean, I get why people do that. But Scotty, it's just you, one man with one water bottle. And it may just not look right. Let's just put it that way. So I'm glad he stopped. He didn't go through with it because that would have really pissed off Lillard, I have a feeling. That was kind of a weird moment that at the end of the game. Yeah, and then let's see. The score is celebrating Scotty's back-to-back threes, and Scotty's reposting it on his Instagram. That was really impressive. That is kind of a signature thing for Scott. I've seen him do these double threes right in a row before. And hey, if you're going to do that more often, man, I'm all about it, Scott. If you're going to have a signature move be I hit 2 threes in a row really fast, Let's make that a thing. Seriously. Emmanuel quickly also celebrating Scotty Barnes All Star and Scotty reposting it. I like to see this. The connection between Emmanuel showing love for Scotty being an All Star. He did not post Jalen Brunson, by the way. So there's another person that isn't too thrilled with Jalen Brunson, but he did post his new teammate, Scotty Barnes. And I love that. I love that so much. Miles Burns has got a best little niece in the world or mister in the world. I don't know. There's some kid Miles Burns is hanging out with. Lloyd is posting Scotty at his locker at All Star. What about Lloyd? Proud of him. There's the Slim Duck post where he's proud of Scotty. And then also, I forgot to mention this, guys, but they did the elections for the NBA Players Association this weekend, and Garrett Temple was reelected as the vice president of the Players Association once again. Garrett has been in this position since 2017, y'all. So 7 years of being the vice president of the Players Association, voted back in once again. And Slim Duck's very proud of it. He posted him getting in there and saying only right that Garrett Temple is involved in that. A lot of people are like realizing that about Garrett and him being on our team. And they're like, whoa, now I see why he's on our team. Yeah, you dumb casuals. You didn't realize he's the vice president of the Players Association, and he has a lot of clout and a lot of pull and a lot of influence around the NBA. Like, he is advocating for the Raptors with the referees every single game, y'all. And that is a very good person to have on your side, a player that is also a lawyer, because he is a lawyer. And that's the one thing that people don't realize about Garrett Temple is he's a lawyer. He's a player rep for the union. And in some ways, him being on the Raptors is good for us in a bunch of different ways. So congratulations to Garrett on being reelected. Also, Harrison Barnes reelected as treasurer. Just so y'all know, he's been the treasurer of the NBA Players Association for a bit too. We got Javon Freeman Liberty and his Instagram stories walking around in a Toronto Raptors basketball shirt. I like seeing that. There's Emmanuel's post about Scotty. I love it. All right, there's your Instagram stories for today. A lot of Chris Boucher and Emmanuel quickly celebrating Scotty's All-Star achievements. Good stuff. Good stuff. Good stuff. Cowboy saying, good morning, Lex, Raptor Freaks. Bam. Scotty just morphed again. Expect big things from number 4. Yeah, he's leveling up quickly, very quickly, with quickly at his side. And we're going to see more quickly things happening around the Raptors with quickly and Scotty developing quickly. Yeah. Infamous saying, salute, freaks. The worst NBA All-Star ever. There you go. He's declared it. Infamous, I love your declarative opinion. And you know what? Even though I don't agree with you, I love your moxie. So you're getting a dunk. Worst NBA All-Star weekend ever. Yeah, all right. I'm with you in some ways. I like that they broke the record. I like that Scott's a part of it. In some ways, that's the most interesting thing to me. If they had not gotten to 200, if they had not broken the record for most scoring in an All-Star game, I would have been disappointed. But because they did that, and because Scott is a part of that history, it was worth it. Infamous. It was worth it. Chris is saying Barnes is now clear of Nick, Fred, Pascal. NBA is going to get barbecued. But the Raps have to sort out a lot of what the rest of this team is going to look like. I agree wholeheartedly, Chris. Yeah. Yeah. The tryouts are continuing. Let's just say that, Darko is Simon Cowell, and he's sitting at that American Idol table. And he has the different people come up. And he's like, all right, let me see what you do. Oh, yeah, your pitch is bad. Okay, sorry. You're not going to Hollywood. It's going to be that kind of thing. It really is like we got Paul Abdul, Randy Jackson, and Simon Cowell sitting on the sidelines and kind of auditioning these guys on whether they should be on Canadian Idol with Scotty, the Canadian Idol. And it really is going to be part of it. I mean, the barbecue part, we know that, RJ, he's bona fide. Emmanuel, bona fide. Yakapurtle. Yeah, we know these guys are going to be around, but the other ones, there going to be some shifting this summer, and we'll have to see who we're investing in and who's going to be sticking around. Yeah, it's going to be interesting to sort it out and see the decisions by the front office. In some ways, we're going to get more inner workings of the front office out on display, out in the open in this transitory period than before, when we were kind of just developing guys and really holding on to them and keeping them around. Well, this is going to be an in and out, a revolving door a little bit, I think, for the next year or so, just so y'all know. I mean, we've had so much change with our team since the beginning of the year. And some ways I think about everybody was at the open coach's house last year that I was at, And who's going to be there this time? And I'm like, Chris will be there, Gary will be there, Scotty will be there. And after that, I'm like, I'm thinking about the coaches. None of them will be there except for Jim Sand. So he may speak again. So I might get to hear Jim Sand speak again. But otherwise, none of the players are the same. It's Chris, Gary, and Scotty. All the rest of them are gone. Seriously. From that coach's open house from last year. I mean, Otto was there, but he was hurt. I don't think he was actually. No, wait, Otto's gone. He's not even on our team anymore. Why did I say that? So yeah, it's very crazy turnover, and that's part of the interesting thing is going to be different about the coach's open house for me going is just how different the personnel of the Raptors is going to be from when I went the last time. It's going to be very, very different. Fred was there. I mean, we had Thaddeus. We had all these guys that we had at that time. I think we even still had Delano at that time. So it's like it's really it's crazy and weird, very weird. Let's see. A Cowboy saying alley oop to Fiercey. All right, we'll give Fiercey an alley oop. Fiercey's hilarious. Fiercey is awesome. We'll do that. She's getting the Magic Johnson 32 is where she's at right now. Fiercey saying one last thing. I'm so tired about the negative Scotty comments in reference to autism and beating allegation stuff. People need to stop, and I'm glad many parents called out the trolls. Yeah, it's really, really, really awful and stupid. And honestly, whatever. In some ways, it's very much hating. In some ways, this is their way of going at him. Is like, everybody's going to have stuff. People went at Michael. People went at Kobe. People went at LeBron. Well, people are going to go at Scotty. And in some ways, that's a part of this. In some ways, Scotty's such a carefree, fun-loving guy. He's kind of goofy and he's playful. In some ways, he's kind of like Jokic and Doncic, but he's also a little bit more serious at the same time in certain situations. But also, he's goofy and he'll do goofy shit and people like pick it apart and try and be whatever. Haters gonna hate. Haters gonna be doing stupid shit. You got to realize the people that are doing that stuff are the same people that did the racist shit to Pascal Siakam. They're people that have no they're really bad people. Like they're really not very smart. First of all, they're very racist. And often they're kind of like just like insensitive pieces of shit. And that's really where I take this. I agree with this. In some ways, I ignore all the bullshit around Scott that's like that, but it does piss me off. But also at the same time, I'm really in that new mode of like, I don't see anything that's shitty because I don't have time for it. That's the thing. If you're gonna be on Twitter, you're gonna see it, Fiercey. When I went and looked at some of the all-star posts about Scotty, yeah, I saw it in the comments section. But I'm just like, this is the same stupid bullshit. Beating the allegations bullshit, whatever. That's just jealousy. That's just losers that sit at home that will never ever accomplish even a 0.5% of what Scotty's accomplished in his life. So yeah, I mean, I hate it too. It's annoying for sure. Tristan Trey is here. Good to see Tristan. Hi, Tristan. It's kind of cool to see Tristan around the team, the photographer, last week when Fred was around. The homecoming of Tristan, the photographer. Everybody's so happy to see Tristan. In fact, when they went to New York, Precious was seen in a picture hugging him because he was learning from him, like photography and stuff, while he was a part of the Raptors organization. Well, he went with Fred to Houston. Mischief saying, was the floor LED? It didn't change in color. It looked hardwood. No, the game last night did not have the LED court, but they maybe want to have it in the future. But no, they didn't have it for the one last night. They put the LED court in the football arena at Lucas Oil, where the Colts play. That was the two event locations were the Pacers arena and the Colts arena, and they put the LED one in the Colts football arena, and that's where they had the LED court for this weekend. So they played in the Pacers arena, and that was not the LED court, unfortunately. But they may want to strongly consider this in the future, Adam Silver. I'll bet you they will. I bet you they will. Because in some ways, the celebrity game was the most appealing visually of all the events this weekend. Name is saying, let's go, Scotty. Let's go, Scotty. Let's go, Scotty. There you go. 3 times and you get Beetlejuice out the mirror. That's what it is. Chris is saying, I give credit to Jaylen Brown for doing the dunk contest. Maybe superstars will do it now, but I do want to see a solid return of a WNBA and NBA event. I think USA versus the world will happen in some way. I mean, if the world continues to bring out this crazy, incredible talent, like think about it. Now the world team has Victor coming up through it. They could really make this happen. I think Anthony Edwards is dead wrong. I think in some ways his xenophobia and American centrism is blocking his true vision of what's happening. In some ways, if anybody should know this, Anthony Edwards, it's you that went to FIBA last year and lost at the FIBA World Cup. Didn't even medal, bro. And you're going to tell me that the world doesn't have enough good players to play against a USA team? Yeah, you're crazy, Anthony Edwards. The Canadians, we have a lot of good Canadians. In fact, I would say that there's at least 4 all-stars that are Canadian in this league right now. And, you add in the French guys who are coming out like crazy right now. You add everybody who's coming from the continent, from Africa. You add in those European guys like Giannis and Luca and Nicola. Yeah, the world team's better than you think, Anthony Edwards, and you probably would get your ass beat, is what I'm saying. Yeah. Yeah. I give credit to Jaylen Brown, too. I think Jaylen Brown's been doing some amazing things, like trying to start Black Wall Street and also doing this for the dunk competition. It's like he cares about the NBA and he wants it to be healthier and better. I commend you. It's too bad you couldn't get another top level player to kind of go versus you, like a Magic versus Bird kind of thing. That may be the next step. Now, Jaylen, I don't know if you should do it again. That's what I'm saying. But at least you gave it your try and you did it. You can say that you did it. That's the one thing. Maybe each superstar should try and do the dunk competition just once. It seemed like that's the way it was for a while, that every big superstar did it at least once. I mean, DeMar DeRozan did the dunk competition. A lot of these guys came up and did the dunk competition, but now it's like it's third string guys, it's backup guys that are doing the dunk competition, not even starters. That's no good. That's no good. They need to bring the star power up. They really do. Let's see. Fiercely saying Anthony Edwards, not a good look with these stupid comments. I actually think the world would beat USA. They're not ready for that. He doesn't think that there's enough world all stars to garner a whole team. That was what his comment is. He's stupid. In some ways, the NBA won't do it just because they don't want that. They'd rather have a higher percentage of American all stars than all around. And some ways, you split it down the middle, you'd be actually shocked, and you would see that it'd be a lot of fun and be very competitive. NBA, Adam Silver. So I dare you, do USA versus the world. I bet you won't, just because you don't want so many world super all stars, is what you don't want. In some ways, it's about money and about keeping the money in American pockets and having less foreign big stars taking money to their other countries, like Nikola buying more horses in Serbia. Let's see. Name is saying, hey, Anthony, the best players in the world right now are not from America. Any of them, you ignorant MF. I know. Like, who's at the top of the MVP rankings? You got Nikola and Joel. They're both not American. And then you got SGA. And Luka's up there, too. It's like Jason Tatum is the most ranked American NBA player at this point, as far as in the MVP rankings. Yeah. So, yeah, there's like 4 of the top players are all from other countries. Giannis, he's the other one. Giannis, Nikola, Luka, SGA, Joel Embiid. That's 5 of the top players right there that are world players. Now, wait, are you going to say that Joel can't play for the world team because he's on the American Olympic team? Stupid ass shit. Now, that's a little goofy. And that's why I'm like, Joel, this is why you shouldn't be on Team America. Because what if we do world versus USA at some point of the All-Stars, you idiot? And then it'll be confusing about where you should go. Well, maybe you should just not be on the team. Maybe you should just sit at home, you big dummy, and be hurt, is what it would be at some point. That's why I'm like, why the fuck are you playing for USA and beat? You lazy fuck. Let's see. Cowboys saying, Scotty all day, face of the NBA. That's the crazy thing. In some ways, watching this game and what they were saying, it's like these older guys are going to have to leave at some point, and these young guys are going to take over and be the faces of the league. Well, Scotty's in the mix. He's in the mix. You see him out there with them, and he could be one of those future faces of the league. That's what Darko thinks. That's what we think, and the rest of the league may not think it, but he's where he's supposed to be. We saw where he was yesterday, and he has that chance. He has that chance. I could see it. Yeah, Seymour saying Draymond. Yeah, I'm glad I didn't watch that alt broadcast with him. I only saw the little bits where they crossed over and they had him involved with both. But yeah, I probably couldn't stand listening to him talking out his ass that whole entire game. I'll bet you he kissed Steph Curry's ass and LeBron's ass the whole fucking game. I'll bet you he did. I'll bet you did. The infamous saying, "What's Edwards talking about? The top three MVP candidates are non-American." I know he's ridiculous. He's ridiculous. Seymour saying, "Was he flashing gang signs at the Clippers?" I don't know. Who you talking about, Draymond? I don't know. I don't know what he was doing. Either way, I don't care. Fiercely got Scotty on blast. And Chris is saying also SGA looked nice as well. His ability to play within the game and be so effective is impressive. No wonder OKC is doing so well. I agree, Chris. I thought that SGA was really smooth. Like, I love the way he takes threes. Like, he's so unassuming, but he's so deadly. Like, pinpoint. I'm so excited about this summer and the prospects of him. He's such a weird player. Like, in some ways, they were saying this during the broadcast. He plays at his own speed. In some ways, he doesn't let the other people hurry him up or dictate things for him. He does it the way he wants to do it, Gilgeous Alexander. Yeah, very, very proud of him also. In some ways, we got to put shine on our Canadian guy on the other side, having a really good game, too. And really, really proud of SGA also. Cowboy saying Edwards must have bumped his head. I used to think this guy was smart, but I don't know if he is. I mean, there's some things I really, really like about him, like his old school mentality about the NBA and friends and showing up for games and certain things is really good. But then he just has some kind of really stupid, ignorant things he does too, like a bad tweet or something like he shouldn't have said. And yeah, I think this is another one. I think in some ways he's caught up in that American exceptionalist, like our shit don't stink kind of shit, is what the problem is here. Yeah, Stargate saying Luca, Joel, SGA, Giannis, Joker, Jamal. I mean, we could go even deeper. There are some NBA guys that are Canadian that could probably be like RJ. RJ could be on an All-Star team for the world. Seriously, RJ Barrett, you don't think he could be in the All-Star game for the world? In some ways, that's exactly why they don't want to do it. It's because more Canadian All-Stars, partly because of that. Think about it. Think about it. Think about it. Maybe OG's on the World All-Star team. Maybe they're not about. Well, maybe they are now because he's in New York. You put OG on the World All-Star team because of his UK birth. There you go. Yeah, throw in Pascal. Why not? Why, heck of it. Like Pascal Siakam. Yeah, he's a pretty damn good player. He's been an all-star. Throw him into the mess, too. Yeah. Yeah. I think that the world could have a pretty good all-star team, Anthony Edwards, you punk ass. Seymour saying, I think the NBA put him on TV hoping he would mess up his image and let him hang himself, but it didn't happen. Draymond smooth off the court, but will put his hands on you on the court. Laugh out loud. Yeah. Yeah. He's like a Jekyll and Hyde. They really try and make him like a Dr. Jekyll on TV, smiley and family friendly, kid approved. But boy, in real life, he's actually a Mr. Hyde. Yeah, I wouldn't trust him. I feel like Draymond's the most full of shit, two-faced fucker around the NBA right now. Holy crap. Yeah. I was fiercely saying Draymond is low-key venerated by the NBA. Of all the players who have done commentary, why bring him out? Remember Adam Silver advised him not to retire. I guess he's good for business. Yeah. Yeah, it probably is part of it right there. Well, look at the monster you made. Like if he does something stupid before the end of his playing career where he injures somebody and ruins somebody else's playing career, well, you get what you get, NBA. You get what you get. You allowed and you encouraged him. And well, God forbid, Draymond Green hurts somebody to the point where they cannot no longer play in the league because of something stupid he did violently on the court. Yeah, if that happens before he retires, everybody will say this is your fault, NBA. This is your fault. You encouraged him. You did not control him right as far as his violence towards other players on the court. You made it a joke. You made it seem like, oh, he's these two things that he, in some ways it's not really healthy. It's not really healthy. Cowboy saying happy family day, Rapid Free family. Happy family day to you, Cowboy, and your family. Jimmy Pope saying, I don't respect the effort out there, especially when they show more effort in the offseason run. Feels like a slap to the face of the fans. There you go, Jimmy Pope. Very strongly opinionated on this. I can't disagree with him in some ways. I mean, that was part of the reason why the old All-Star Games guys would put effort in because they're doing it for the fans. Are these guys doing it for the fans? No, they're doing it for their own guffaws. Yeah. In some ways, maybe some of them are trying to entertain the fans, give them a good show. But some of them are just out there screwing around. That's for damn sure. That's for damn sure. Good to see you, Jimmy. Cool Cat saying, Lex, the youth blow out the old West. The West old guys were not in the mood to run around like the energetic youth. Yeah, I feel like that's apropos. I feel like that's accurate. That seems like that's what's happened. Yep. Jimmy's saying it's an honor to be an all-star. It's obvious they don't care. They are making a mockery of the all-star game, and Adam Silver is visibly annoyed. Yeah, I don't know how he's going to fix this. In some ways, I'm glad they did East versus West. That was an upgrade. I will say that. That it is much better that it's the East versus West. That makes way more sense than the schoolyard picking and all the bullshit that comes with that. So that at least was an improvement from last year. That they went back to the old format. I really do feel like that was way better. Yeah, Adam Silver, you make your own bed, man. You've created this Frankenstein monster, Dr. Frankenstein. It's all your fault, bro. You know, David Stern probably look at you and see what you did to his league. And he'd be like, I'm so disappointed in you, Adam, for allowing gambling around the league at this point, for allowing the game to get this bad of quality. That it's not the league that I left you with. What the fuck did you do to it? Is what he'd probably say. So if Adam Silver is visibly annoyed, he should be annoyed with himself for allowing the league to get this point. It's his hand that guided it. Let's see. La, 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 la. Let's see what else you guys are saying about the All-Star game. Chris is saying Draymond will replace Charles Barkley. Kenny should be replaced tomorrow, maybe by JJ Redick. He says what's on his mind in an informed way. Green and Shaq picking on him would be fun. Yeah, I don't know. I would replace JJ Redick's not bad. In some ways, he said things about the Raptors that pissed me off recently, but he's a very good broadcaster. And at least, like he said, he deals with the respect of the moment a little bit better and being more conscious of the gravity of something like a Sabrina versus Steph moment. He wouldn't have dropped the ball on that like they did on Saturday night. In some ways, there needed to be some setup, some sort of like commentary that really like framed it in the right way for young girls and boys to understand what this moment and why it's important. And that just didn't happen. Instead, we got cackling, like kind of chauvinist kind of comments. And that was a real fuck up by the NBA in a lot of ways. It was a real fuck up. And it is what it is. If they got a chance to do it again, well, they probably do a better job next time. Watch. They probably will. Yeah, I don't know. I don't like the future of Draymond Green taking over for Charles Barkley. In some ways, that will be the day that I like the inside the NBA crew is dead. In some ways, it's like it's no good without any of those guys that are presently on it. In some ways, I used to think that, well, Shaq wasn't always a part of it. The essential people for the longest time were Kenny, Charles, and Ernie. And they had a rotation of people. It wasn't always Shaq. It could be Magic Johnson. It could be a female from the WNBA. It could be all kind. It could be Candace Parker. Having those three in particular, it's not necessarily Shaq. It's Charles, Kenny, and Ernie that were the TNT crew for the longest time. Shaq was a later addition. He's definitely a part of it, an important part of it at this point. But it was really those other guys that were the more important part. Now, when Barkley's gone, that shit's over. He's the one, and Ernie to an extent too. Ernie's so important as the host of it. Like he really kind of keeps the balance and the professionalism of them kind of tethered to the ground. As far as if they get too out in the craziness with what they're saying, Ernie's the one who brings them back to being like, all right, we got a commercial break. We got to do this. And with him gone, thank God he's healthy and he got over his like health scares years ago. Like when he goes, that's going to be it. That's going to be it for that show. Like no Ernie, no Charles. That show sucks. And I don't care if they replace with Draymond. He's not a replacement for Charles. He just doesn't have the same, like, he's not the same. Let's just put it that way. But that's interesting. You're probably right. They probably will try and do this, replace Charles with Draymond. That's part of the reason why they're doing it the way they're doing it. Let's see. Trevor's saying after the All-Star game is Sportsnet interview, Scotty said Dame was talking to him about shooting the ball. Oh, that's cool. Like, listen, I mean, I'm telling you, the advice and just being around these guys in a different way than like they're the opponent and we have to play each other on the court. It's a different thing when you're in the same locker room. It's a different thing when you're sitting on the bench with them. It's a different thing where, people are a little bit let their guard down and you're kind of just talking to each other and they can just say things to like people like probably came up to him and saying, you know what, dude, you got a lot coming up in the future for you. And listen, I made some mistakes when I was younger. I wish I had made. And if you can avoid them, I'll tell you how. Stuff like that could be going on. this All Star weekend, meeting up with other All Stars like that. I'm telling you. Let's see. Cool Cat saying, I preferred the halftime show from Utah. This year, I like the Steph Sabrina show. The game this year was a 3-point clinic to 200. Dunk show was better last year. Now, these are all good points. I think Cool Cat's right. Maybe that's how I should gauge it by event, which one was better from last year or this year. All right. If I start at the very beginning, the celebrity game was better this year. And it really was because of the LED court. I would say last year's Rising Stars Challenge was better because Scotty was in it. So there's a point for Utah and a point for Indiana, 1-1. All right. If we go to the skills competition, well, I'm going to say the one this year was better because Scotty was in it. So there's another point for Indy. And then, all right, the 3-point shootout. I think that the one this year was better because there was the tie. And then I'm going to include Steph and Sabrina in the 3-point shooter because there wasn't one last year. So that's 3-1 against Utah. The dunk competition was definitely better in Utah. I'll agree with what Cool Cat said there. And then the All-Star game, I think that the one this year was better. So it's 4-2 for me as far as the two things. Because I feel like the All-Star game was way better this year just because, well, Scotty's in it and also the 200 points. But yeah, all right, we're talking about the halftime show. Last year's halftime show was awesome because Siakam was involved in it. He introduced Burna Boy, and he very much was a part of the halftime shows. So that's a big reason why. I thought it was pretty cool that Jennifer Hudson was involved in the All-Star weekend this weekend, playing in the celebrity game and then doing the halftime show yesterday. She truly is an EGOT. She truly is one of the most talented people. Being an EGOT is a big deal. I'm going to tell you that right now. You know, the people that get to be EGOTs are seriously talented. And Jennifer Hudson is definitely that. The fact that she played in the celebrity game too is absolutely part of that EGOT talent. I mean, I like that song that she sings. She kills it. Oh my gosh, that emotional song. So I don't know. I don't know if I liked Siakam's involvement in the halftime show last year, but I don't know. Jennifer Hudson's so good in some ways. I'm like, holy crap, she can sing. I don't know. In some ways, I think this year was better, Cool Cat. But last year, yeah, there were some things about last year that were better for sure. Cool Cat saying Scotty's upper body is big with big, long arms. Very strong kid. Why is he having such a hard time lifting the trophy after the game? That's what I'm wondering. Scotty, are you acting? Like, seriously, you're stronger than that. Why are you acting like that thing's so heavy you can't lift it like it's concrete? Bro, you are so strong. I know you can lift that trophy. Are you trolling? Are you acting like you can't lift that trophy? Seriously, man. Seriously, I made me a little worried. I'm like, this is part of the reason why they have allegations about him. It's like, what is he doing? He's like, he can't lift the trophy. Yeah, he can lift the trophy. If he can muscle up with Nikola Jokic and people like that in the league, yeah, he can lift that trophy. I don't understand why he was goofing like that. Why are you acting like you can't lift that trophy? I know you can lift it. Cowboy saying, I'm down to watch the draft with Lex and the family. Sheriff, I wonder, Aaron Bradshaw. It's not the draft. It's a coach's open house, man. Yeah, we'll do the draft at some point, but I don't know how I'll watch the draft or if it'll be something where I can hang out with you guys. But that coach's open house, Bradley, it's free. It's amazing event. It's the 19th of March. If you can come down there, take part of the day off. You could maybe even go back to work in the afternoon afterwards. If you can afford to do that, do it. Come down there. It'll be a once in a lifetime experience and you will really enjoy it. Just trust me. Just trust me, Bradley. Coach's open house. Sign up for it. If you can do that event, come there with me and Adriana, and we'll watch it. Fiercely saying Scotty needs to give care tips to Charles Barkley. No, Charles is taking all his skin and like wrapping it around his face. You can tell he's had a facelift. You can tell. In some ways, they had to pencil in his eyebrows to be like when he played back in the day. His little sinister eyebrows that he used to have. In some ways, it's like they painted him on or something. I don't know what's going on with Charles. In some ways, he's trying to age and he wants to age gracefully. Okay, go ahead and get work done, just like a lady in Hollywood would. All right, go ahead, Dolly Parton. All right, Cowboy saying Fiercey is on fire. Alley oop to Fiercey. Yeah, Fiercey was really funny in our chat yesterday too. Like she's very critical of this All-Star weekend, and rightfully so. Rightfully so. G saying Scotty singing the Canadian anthem. It made me proud. In some ways, I'm not even totally sure if Scotty's singing the anthem when he does that. In some ways, he's not like saying the words right with it. I don't know if he doesn't know the words. He does. I've heard him sing it on Twitch though. Like, it just doesn't look like he's matching though when he's doing it. It's like, oh, no, no, no. He may be not singing the anthem. I don't know what he's saying. But I do see his mouth moving during the Canadian anthem, so maybe he is. Cowboy saying alley oop, G. I almost forgot that. Big up yourself, Scotty. I think he actually loves Toronto. He does. He does love Toronto. He's interested in our real estate market and becoming a part of it, and being a real estate mogul in the Toronto area. Yeah, Scotty, you know what? It's good stuff. Scotty represented us right. Thank you, Scott, for going to Indianapolis and representing the Toronto Raptors franchise in the right way, my man. You were highly successful in everything you did, and you looked good. You looked real, real good. Real ones, people that put eyes on that game yesterday and the skills competition, they saw stuff in you that they understand now. In some ways, that one play where you went charging up the court and threw it down when Karl Anthony Towns was right next to you, that was awesome. And people's eyes opened up and they can see more that, yeah, Scotty belongs in the All-Stars. He is a top-level player in this league. That's right. That is right. Cool Cat saying, I love Scotty and his mom photos on the court. So happy for his mom. Yeah, it's like he had a lot of good family around him and friends for this big weekend for him. Very, very good. Fiercely saying, agreed, Chris. SGA's shits were flawless. Shots were flawless. His shits were flawless. That's TMI. He's really special. Yeah, on fire. Yeah, I agree. The SGA smooth. Jimmy saying, I bet Steph had that custom made. Yeah, Scotty had a custom made patches on his too, like that Casey Bannerman gave him, but he wasn't able to wear his. Like, he would have came out there and you'd have FSU all over his stuff. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know how Steph like got the extra little patches on his warm up before the game. It was fishy to me. LeBron should have patches. Dame Lillard should have patches. Kawhi should have patches. There's a lot of guys who should have had patches. Fiercely saying Scotty singing along the Canadian national anthem. I'm still not sure if he knows the words exactly right. Let's see. Yeah, Canadian Scotty. We love him. Fiercely saying, oops, I meant SGA shots, not shits. Yeah, I caught that one. Let's see. Bryce is saying the Nets just fired Jack Vaughn. Wow. Wow. Breaking news. Thank you, Bryce, for letting us know. Wow. That's man, there's a lot of coaches getting fired in the middle of the season. The Nets were garbage. I don't understand why they did this. It's not like, Jacques Vaughn was the replacement coach for Steve Nash when he got fired, and he's kind of stuck around since then and been okay. But now they're getting rid of him. That's crazy. Okay, so that's the Woj bombs for real. Okay, yeah. And Seymour's head just went. Trevor's saying All-Star Saturday they handed out rings to all the players. Yeah, I saw that part where Scotty's getting the ring from a young lady in the back. He opens up the box and he takes it out. That's really special. That's really amazing. Scotty's getting more and more mementos from accomplishments in his career, whether it's that little Rookie of the Year crystal ball that he got, whether it's the balls that Bobby Webster keeps giving him for like commemorating his achievements, like Rookie of the Year and All-Star. And now he gets an All-Star ring. This is really good stuff. This is really good stuff. You need more hardware like this, Scott. Keep on going and achieving and get more hardware, including that Larry O'Brien, my man. Get that too. I want to see that. Chris is saying that Fiercey, he takes a good shit, I'm sure. So smooth. Laugh out loud. Sorry, I had to. Well, she set you up for that shit. And yeah, it's kind of funny. In some ways, gross. And maybe like I don't want to think about Shy taking poops. But yeah, she went there by accident. But yeah, so smooth. So smooth. That's good. Maybe Metamucil's involved. Let's see. Mischief saying, I won't be around for March 19th. I'll be in Florida. Bahia Honda Key. Nice. For WMC Miami Music Week. That sounds like so much fun. Mischief. You can go down there and bring the bass. So head down there, man. Yeah. All right. Good stuff, man. Very, very cool. Fiercely saying, Bryce, wow. Wonder who will be his replacement. Coach Bud, Adrian. That is interesting. I wonder who would be the next person to take the Nuts job. It won't be Steve Nash. I don't know. We'll have to find out and we'll see. They may go interim for the rest of the year. It's not like they're competing. So it's not like they're going to want to go spend money on a big name coach like Doc Rivers and the Milwaukee Bucks because they don't really have a path very good for the rest of the year. Now, this may also mean that the Nets may lose enough to get below us in the Atlantic Division. I'm okay with that. Some people are really worried about our pick. I'm not. In some ways, I don't want to be the last team in the Atlantic Division by the end of the year. So if we can pass the Nets after this firing, that would be good. That'd be a good thing, not a bad thing. I don't think they're going to replace them from outside. I think they're just going to put one of the assistants who's already there in charge for the rest of the year, and they will sign a big name in the summer. That's what they'll do, probably. Not a big name, but they'll get a new coach in the summer. I don't think they'll do it after. Nameless is saying, I'm going to the Nets game on Thursday. That's cool, Paisano. All right, well, let me know. Oh, wait, the Nets game is here. Sounds like I thought he was going to the Nets game in Brooklyn. No, he's going to the game here. Dennis Schroeder returning to Toronto to play against the Raptors on Thursday when we resume the NBA season. I'll have the preview on Thursday morning, all the pertinent information, the refs, the latest lineup news, everything you need and what you expect from the Raptor Freak channel on game day. That's right. That's cool. You're going to the game on Thursday. Cheer on Dennis for me. Do it for me, Nameless. Let's see. Fiercely saying, you're a shit talker to Chris. That's funny. Fiercely saying, Nameless, say hi to Dennis. That's what I just said. Dr. Good Vibes is back in the house, yo. Look at the vibes Dr. Good Vibes is dropping. It's the shaky pink hand waving high. And then it's the girl. It kind of looks like the Statue of Liberty, but she's got headphones on and she's kind of got, hey. And then there's a heart. Dr. Good Vibes. I'm so happy to be graced with your good vibes that I'm going to give you a dunk, my man. And I love your emotes, your emoticons. Very, very good stuff. So, Dr. Good Vibes, you're on it, buddy. You are on it right here. Dr. Good Vibes is going on the dunk list. First time dunker, Dr. Good Vibes. I like that. Dr. Duncanstein. Let's see. Cowboy saying, you playing Mischief? Yeah, I wonder. Are you going down to Florida to play that funky bass at Music Week? Infamous saying, if y'all have an issue with Draymond, then y'all should keep the same energy for Barkley, Oakley, Larry Bird, Rodman, etc., because they were doing the similar things on the court back in the 80s and 90s. Shaking my head. You know what? You're right. You are right. You are exactly right. But the league has changed. There's been things that have happened since those times, the malice in the palace. In some ways, the NBA does not want violence around their league at all. In some ways, some of the stuff that has happened recently is not good. Isaiah Stewart's not good. Draymond punching Jordan Poole out in the practice was not good for the league. And in some ways, the violence of the NBA in the past, yeah, we could get away with it, but certain things happen, like Kermit Washington and Rudy Tomjanovich, that changed each time. And when these events happen, they ratchet it up and kind of change it, and they want to get rid of this stuff. In some ways, Draymond is a throwback to an older era, but in some ways, there's no place for Draymond in this league at this point, is what I'm looking at. Like if Rodman was doing this right now, I'd probably think he looked out of place too. Because honestly, the league has really wanted to clean this shit up. That any kind of unnecessary kind of violence is bad. Ron Artest ruined the league in some ways because of him going in the stands. So they're really touchy about this. But apparently, that's the thing. I feel like Draymond gets a pass because of the duality of him with the NBA. And in some ways, that's really toxic. But yeah, I won't disagree with you, Infamous. In some ways, those guys did similar things to what he did. I mean, Larry Bird literally punched somebody in the face on the court. And yeah, I mean, Oakley wasn't so overt with it. I don't think Oakley's exactly like this. Barkley, maybe. There's some cheap shots out there. I mean, a lot of these guys were cheap. Like even Shaq had cheap shots from time to time, even though he could hurt someone. I don't know. It's different eras, and that's part of it. But you're noted, Infamous, and I think that you have a good point. And in some ways, we are kind of being unfair to Draymond if we celebrate these other names, like you're saying. This is a very good counterpoint. And I have to say I'm a little bit guilty of what you're saying. Yeah. Nameless is saying, I'm sitting really close, Fiercey. Maybe I will. Yeah, you should. Talk to him in Italian or German. Maybe brush up on German a little bit. Get the Rosetta Stone out in the next couple of days and learn some German phrases that you can tell him during the game. That'd be cool. Trevor's saying, I would love to see Sabrina and Caitlin going at it in the 3-point shootout. I think that they should just put them in the shootout, in the NBA shootout. Don't have a separate event. Let them compete for the NBA three-point championship. Seriously, it'll be awesome. It'll be a lot of fun. And honestly, I think that that's the way they should do it going forward. Now, I think it should be vice versa. I think that the men should be able to go. Now, it's a little bit more sticky there, just because the parameters are a little bit easier there with the ball and the line. Would the NBA guys use that if they were going to go the other way? I don't know. In some ways, they got to figure this all out. And it's important to make it on the up and up and fair. That's the important part. Let's see. Cool Cat saying the Raptors have to move Pascal and OG because after Scotty won Rookie of the Year and 2 Rising Stars, it was imperative for his legacy to make it in his 3rd year. Pascal's stats would have prevented Scotty. Turn the page. No, this is true. In some ways, I back thought about this. We brought this up a little bit, that if they had not traded Siakam when they did, Scotty would not be an all-star right now. That's the thing. If Pascal and OG were around still, they would be clouding the picture, and it may be a lot harder for them to select Scotty to be an all-star. In some ways, they would have said, well, Siakam kind of has a case to be an all-star also. They kind of cancel each other out. So in some ways, the moves of trading Anunoby and Siakam opened it up for Scotty to go for this weekend. I don't think it would have happened if we hadn't traded those guys. Let's just put it that way. I don't know if he would have been an all-star. I think the Cool Cat's exactly right, that if they wanted him to get his benchmarks, to make his achievements, to get to those goals that he can make the max money that they can sign him to, they need to get him on the path towards it. And some of those other guys were kind of clouding up the situation to make it seem like, well, they may need accolades too. Siakam or Barnes, if it was a 2-man race, well, I'm going to say neither one. Neither one. Just like they did to Sabonis and Fox in Sacramento. Just like how they did that. Yeah. Cowboys sent alley-oop to Cool Cat. All right, we'll do that. Yeah, she's exactly right. And I think that's something that a lot of Raptors fans don't realize is trading Siakam is the reason why he is an all-star to a degree. Is a big, big part of it. If Siakam was still around, I don't know if that would have happened, is what I'm saying. Let's see. Chris is saying charity hotspots would be a good idea. Something turn the All-Star game into a game within a game. Is the court able to electrocute players a bit? Chris, I gotta give you a 3-pointer for that. I mean, I don't know if the players union will be okay with that. I don't know if they would agree with this one. I mean, that's funny. You're a Michael Jordan number 23. Electrocute him. I like the hot spots. I think the charity stuff is really cool, especially if they're going to get more money for something by hitting a cool shot. I think that the idea of a pinball kind of court, the doing all kinds of really weird shit during the All-Star game is fun, and they should do this. They should do this. But I don't know. I don't think they're going to electrocute the players. That's crazy. Like the game operation. If they miss a 3, what are you gonna put? Dog collars around their necks, like the invisible fence for your dog, like where they could somebody at the sideline. Maybe it's like their opponent or their somebody who hates them, and they're like, "Oh, LeBron missed the layup." Yeah, no, they're not doing that. That sounds crazy. 3-pointer for you though. That's funny. Trevor's saying Brooklyn Nets fired their head coach. Yeah, that's a big deal. That's a very big deal. That's very interesting. Let's keep going. No. Paul's saying joking about the homeless problem in San Francisco and needing a bulletproof vest was not funny. It's sad. Housing for the homeless should be a topic talked about more. Yeah, I won't disagree with you. I mean, that's Charles being poor taste all the time. Now, in some ways, I'm being a hater because of, Raptors and Warriors fans interacting. They've said out-of-pocket shit. And in some ways, when Charles has his feuds with Warriors Nation, it's enjoyable to me. And I'll be on Barkley's side. But yeah, you're exactly right. He shouldn't be making light of a serious problem in that city. That's a problem in all the cities across the country. Honestly, it's a problem here in our city too. That in some ways, it's like, yeah, I'm totally with you on this, Paul. In some ways, Barkley is kind of like Don Cherry. He's going to be at some point, he's going to say something that's totally politically incorrect and maybe archaic and really, really bad, and it'll get him screwed out of being on TV. That happened to Don Cherry, obviously. And, well, Barkley's always had that threat of happening to him at any time with some of this shit he says. But in some ways, he has more allowances because it's a really sometimes he can get away with it because he's also very forgiving. That's part of the problem with Don Cherry. He was stubborn. He's like, no, I believe what I said, and I will say what I believe. Well, Barkley, if he says something wrong, he steps in and he may come around and apologize for it and do damage control. That's a big difference. But they're very similar kind of people, Don Cherry and Charles Barkley. They're outspoken. They will speak about things they probably shouldn't talk about. And yeah, that those comments may have angered some people yesterday for sure, Paul. I don't think they were classy, but in some ways, if it's a rivalry thing where they're kind of just talking trash and it's not totally to be taken seriously, that's probably where Barkley's coming from. That's where he's coming from. Cool Cats, yeah, bring it up. Brooklyn coach fired. Jacques Vaughn fired. Cowboys saying, have a great family day, Lex and Raptor Freaks. Let's grow and let's go, Raptors. I'm with you, Cowboy. Y'all enjoy your day. Make sure your family day is awesome with your family. Seymour saying, it's not one and done, it's one and dumb. Leaving early can hurt. I'm not sure what you mean. It's not one and done. It's one and dumb. Leaving early can hurt. I'm not totally sure what you're talking about, Seymour, but it's an interesting comment. Infamous is saying, just say you don't like green. Michael Jordan punches out a team. Oakley and Barkley slaps and punches teammates and are celebrated. Make it make sense. Shaking my head. Yeah, I don't like green. I really don't. In some ways, he's been disrespectful to the championship we won over him. He's been disrespectful to our champions in interviews with them. He interviewed Fred VanVleet. He's interviewed Scotty. He's interviewed Pascal. And almost all of those interviews, he's taken jabs and slights at them. So fuck Draymond Green. You're right. I don't like Draymond. And that is part of what informs my opinions of him is that he's a piece of shit. In some ways, he discounts our championship because he doesn't think we actually beat them. So fuck him. We did beat you. Until you admit that the one team that you never beat in the finals, that you played in the finals, is the Toronto Raptors, then fuck you, Draymond Green. Yeah, he was so disrespectful to Siakam in his interview with him. Some of the things he said to him, he's kind of like, yeah, I don't know who you are, and you're nobody to me. But yeah, then you came up and won a championship against me. I don't understand that. It's saying shit like that. It's just like, fuck that guy. Seriously, fuck that guy. I hate him. I do hate him. I'll admit it. I hate him. Yeah. And that is part of the reason why I talk shit about him. Exactly. You're exactly right. Exactly right. Let's see. Infamous saying gang signs. Really, please update your racial stereotypes. Shaking my head. Who said that? Who said gang signs? He was throwing some weird shit on the court in that Clippers game. He was doing something weird. I don't know if they were gang signs. It probably isn't because I don't know if he's in a gang or anything like that. I don't think he is. But he was doing some sort of weird thing, like he was like making motions like he wants to choke somebody out. I mean, he's a psychopath. Let's just put it that way, Infamous. In some ways, the fact that he has that duality of like, I'm going to smile and be kid friendly on TV, and then I'm going to be a psychopath. Well, Dennis was always who he was. Charles was always who he was. Michael Jordan was always who he was. But Charles, those guys, those guys are who they were at all times. Draymond's two-faced. Draymond's trying to play both sides of something, and in some ways it don't work. Like if they were trying to put Dennis Rodman in the NBA on TNT broadcast during things all the time, that would look weird to me too. Seriously, because he's the villain. They painted him as the villain. Now they want him to be a bona fide part of the broadcast. No, that don't fucking work. That don't fucking work. So, I mean, that's the way I look at it right there. Dennis Rodman shouldn't have been on the broadcast and announcing just like Draymond should. That's just the damn truth. And same thing with Charles Oakley too. Of course, Charles Oakley's hard to understand. Now, Barkley's different. Barkley's a weird one. He's a weird one for this because in some ways he's bigger and unique. He's completely unique. There's no other, like if they're trying to manufacture the second Charles Barkley and Draymond Green, good luck. You're not going to make another Charles Barkley and Draymond Green. In a lot of ways, a lot of us older heads like me will reject him for that. It's just insidious. Don't like insult my intelligence, NBA. Acting like, oh, we're so mad at him, we're going to suspend him for an indefinite amount of games until he gets mental health help. Meanwhile, you're like coddling him, giving him all these opportunities, putting him on TV, making him a poster boy, making him a future broadcaster for you. Meanwhile, he's a psycho at the same time. Yeah, that's the problem. Is it's a little bit of lying, it's a little bit two-faced, and it's ingenuine from both Draymond Green and the NBA. They're both at fault. Like, it's not totally Draymond's fault. It's the NBA's fault for enabling him and encouraging him. That is the problem. That's the fault. But yeah, I do hate him. I think he's a piece of shit. And until he acknowledges our championship as justified and real, and he stops poo pooing it, saying that we didn't really win a championship, fuck him. Yeah, fuck him. I'll say that over and over again. Now, I don't know about the racial stereotypes of gang signs or anything like that. He was doing something weird with his hands, but I never said they were gang signs. I said they looked like he was choking someone. Yeah. Chris is saying JJ Redick has a deep respect and love for the game. He'd be good. I can't think of anyone else. I know Gilbert Arenas would be hilarious, but a total no-go. I hope TNT gets it right in the next generation. Yeah, I think JJ's a up and coming star, and he should be put somewhere. I think Jamal Crawford's fantastic too. I think that Garrett Temple, if he's not going to be a lawyer and do stuff with that, he could be a broadcaster. He's so good. When he did the 905 game the other day, he was so good. Oh my gosh, like he's perfect. He was like a perfect broadcaster, Garrett Temple. So there's talent in this. I know a lot of young players go into communications with the idea that they do want to do broadcasting afterwards. So there may be way more people, and you may be shocked about who actually comes out of the woodworks and becomes an announcer or a commentator for the NBA in the future. You may be very shocked. Yeah. Let's see. David's saying, where is the coach's open house? It's at Scotiabank Arena, David. I think it's a perfect thing for you to come do with me and Adriana. And if Peter wants to come, if Mo's in town, Mojo, you guys come down and go to it with me. In fact, afterwards, I plan, let's go have a lunch afterwards at Real Sports and make it like a full thing. But yeah, David, you would love to do this. It's free. It's only usually like about 500 people. And it's so close. It's right up on the 100 level, really close to the court. And you, honestly, they don't use like, they can talk to us not with microphones because there's so little of, and you see the whole team. They come out and practice. It's a big deal, the coach's open house. So come down there, David. If you have any more questions about it, message me, text me, and I'll tell you what's up. But yeah, March the 19th, you're supposed to get down there for 8:15 in the morning. It runs till about 1:30 in the afternoon. And then after that, we'll go to lunch. It's somewhere nearby. It's so good. I went to the one with Nick. I told y'all about it. Well, this is the first one with Darko. And we need to go down there and see what Darko does different than Nick does at the open house, the coach's open house. Cool Cat saying, Lex, Scotty singing the Canadian anthem correctly. It's the feed that we see is delayed. Okay, because it seemed like he's not matching up. So you think the feed is delayed, and that's why it doesn't look like he's singing it right. Okay. Well, I've often wondered that because I'm like, does he know the words? It doesn't seem like he's singing it exactly right. Okay, I think that sounds right. That sounds right. Chris is saying, if it's free and I have time, I might go. You should. I mean, this is right up your alley. You've been a coach and done a lot of coaching stuff. This is for coaches to learn from the Toronto Raptors coaching staff. It's fantastic, honestly. I mean, it's so good. It really is like in some ways they don't want a lot of people to come because where they're putting it, because it's a Tuesday and not a lot of people can go down there. Plus, it's very early in the morning to get down there. And it's so good. Just I trust you guys. If you guys are on the fence, if you can go, just go and come with me. And you guys will be blown away about the event. Because seriously, you will get to watch the Raptors, their whole entire team, practice a whole entire practice right in front of you from like a seat that normally costs like $2,000 in the lower bowl. Like it's all right in the center, right up next to the court in the lower bowl, because there's only like 500 people there. So they fit everybody right next to the court in the middle right there in the lower bowl. And you get the clipboard that I got and the whistle that I sent to MK last summer for winning the WNBA team fantasy league. So yeah, it's really, really good. You guys should come. You guys should come. Both of you guys. As many of you guys want to come. It's free to register for. You just find it online, register, get your stuff in, and boom, meet me there, and we'll go in. Yeah. Let's see. Jam Joss is here. Good to see Jam Joss. Jaylen Brown dunks were sorry as hell. I love it. He's so right. Fuck Boston. Yeah. I'm glad that Celtic got exposed still. Worst dunks in the competition, hands down. And they robbed Toppin still. Oh, Jam Joss, you're exactly right. I agree with everything you're saying right here. I feel like Jacob Toppin really did not get the consideration that he deserved. And that Jaylen Brown was getting a little extra favoritism. Yeah, this Celtics shit is so full of shit. Like even last night, they're interviewing Jason Tatum before the All-Star game, and Reggie Miller and the TNT crew are saying, "We're rooting for you to win the championship this year." Like you're the unbiased announcers of the whole league, and you guys are going on there saying, "We love your team so much. We hope you guys have a really good second half of the season, and we're rooting for you guys to go deep and far in the playoffs." That's NBA announcers saying it straight up to Jason Tatum and the Celtics that we're rooting for you guys to win. Just don't make it more clear that you want the Celtics to win the championship this year, NBA. Jeez, with your unbiased bullshit. Yeah, seriously, you would never say that to anybody else on the court or interviewing before the game. Are you saying that to Giannis and Dame Lillard? We would love for Milwaukee to win again this year and get the championship. No, you're saying that shit to the Celtics straight up on the broadcast live to Jason Tatum. Seriously, they said that. They said, "We're really rooting for you to win and go deep in the playoffs this year." Okay, are you the broadcast crew for the whole entire NBA, or are you the Boston Celtics? And is that Brian Scalabrine wearing a Reggie Miller mask? What the fuck is this? Seriously. What the fuck is this? That's right, Jam Joes. Favoritism for the Celtics. They even flashed the fucking court in the Indiana arena. Well, they found out. Boo. Boo. Fuck that shit. Don't put Boston's court on the Indiana court. Fuck you guys for that. Yeah, they found out. David's saying infamous. The difference is in the 90s, that's how they all played. It's 2024. I think that's a big one. And the emphasis is saying if that's not an excuse, but it is, though. But it is. Things progress. You know, if you think about the very beginning of basketball in the cage, the cagers, it was very more brutal. There was blood. And there was a lot more crazy shit going on in games in some ways, even with those old plumbers in the cages. You know, there's different eras of the NBA, and it's true. And David does have a good point here. In some ways, the NBA is not having any kind of like barbaric kind of violence like it used to. That they really want to show that we're, transgressing it and we're above it. And that this is a competitive, like good sportsmanship kind of place. And that's part of it right there. In some ways, Draymond may be in the wrong era. Maybe Draymond should have played in the 80s and 90s. I'll tell you right now, he wouldn't be as badass as he is then. He'd probably be an ordinary player, and he'd probably get his ass beat back in the old days. Trust me. Charles Oakley and Barkley and Rick Mahorn and Bill Laimbeer and that era, those guys would probably kick his ass. And he would look like a little pussycat in the old era. It's just now everybody has to be soft, so he looks hard in a soft era. Is really part of it. That's part of it too. This David's saying this is a soft era. He's playing hard. He needs to fucking get with the program. This is the soft era. No, you're supposed to be nice to the superstars, cushy, and let them shoot threes. And woo, a hard foul. Oh my gosh, you could hurt somebody. I mean, it's not that I exactly want this right now the way it is. In some ways, I like the old style. But if one guy's going to be allowed to do it and nobody else is, well, that's unfair. And that's part of it. Draymond gets away with so much bullshit on the court as far as yelling at the refs, as far as physicality, and he doesn't get any trouble. In some ways, he's just like LeBron. He's a golden boy that gets favored from the NBA unfairly, and I hate him for that. So, yeah, I'm very much on record for this. I mean, infamous, if you're a Draymond stan, that's fine. We can differ on this, but I've expressed my opinions on why I don't like Draymond very, very clearly today. Very, very clearly. Yeah, Jam Joseph is saying simple. These players have lost the pride of competing. That's what some people are saying. That part of the problem with sports today is competitors and athletes don't care like they used to. Like they really don't do it for the love of the sport. In some ways, maybe things are too easy for the prep college athlete at this point, any sport, that they really kind of are soft. That really didn't have to work like magic out in the fucking snow in Michigan, shooting like crazy over and over again for him to get to the point where he got to. In some ways, these guys are coddled and treated a whole different way ever since LeBron came in. And they were calling people from high school as prep stars right on up. They don't go through the school of hard knocks like the old school players used to. And in some ways, that is part of the reason why they don't respect or treat the game with the respect that it deserves. I believe that is true. David's saying, right, it's not an excuse. It's just a fact. Fucking logic gets them every time. It's all good, guys. It's all good. See, David, once again, I know you're edgy. Infamous has good points. And honestly, his points are actually really good balance to what I'm saying. He's pointed out exactly that we're hypocrites, and we are to a degree on this. He's right. That in some ways, if we're going to celebrate the history of Dennis Rodman, why can't we celebrate Draymond? Well, we're given the counterpoints, and your point is right. It's a different era, but also at the same time, he's right too. And he pointed out very exclusively, well, you just have something against Draymond. And he's right too. He's right on that one also. I'm biased against Draymond. That's going to make me anti him for sure. For sure. For sure. Infamous saying it was wrong back then and it's wrong now. No excuses. See, I like that. I like that. See, now he's not even saying that what Draymond's doing is right. He's just saying if this can be like this against him, it should have been like that against them before. A lot of respect for you, Infamous, for not totally agreeing with us right now. But I see your side of it too. And I think it's valid and fair. I'm not partial. I mean, I'm impartial. I'm anti Draymond, so I can't look at this fairly. I really can't. I can't. Cool Cat saying bench mob DeLon Wright is now Miami Heat. Yeah, I'm disappointed in that, but in some ways, I'm happy for him. It's a better team, and maybe his opportunities will be better for the Heat than with the Wizards the last couple years. So you go, DeLon. We love you, man. G saying I like hard nosed players, but I feel Green is the type of player to purposely hurt a young player's career because he is on his way out. I don't trust his motives. As a broadcaster, I don't mind him. Yeah, see, I can't separate the two. I really can't. In fact, I don't hear him broadcasting. All I hear is him from the court. And in some ways, I don't respect him. So I can't listen to him as an announcer. I'm sorry. He sounds so two-faced. He sounds so full of shit. He sounds like he doesn't really get like his persona and who he is. And if he does, well, he's embracing it and he doesn't really care about changing his behavior on the court. The difference is really just like unnecessary. Like I can understand Larry Johnson and Kurt Thomas getting a fist fight with the Knicks and the Heat in the 90s because they're in the middle of a contest and they're really up in ante and like the stakes are high. Jeff Van Gundy's grabbing Alonzo Mourning's leg. You know, that shit was passionate and it was the playoffs and something was on the line. Competitiveness. No, I see Draymond do violent shit to people in games that don't matter when nobody else is actually that amped up and he's the only one just making an inciting violence. It's one thing to punch somebody because you're mad at them in the heat of the battle because of competitiveness. It's another thing to just take a cheap stomp on Domantas Sabonis just for no reason. That's what I'm saying. In some ways, like there was a rhyme or reason to Rodman's madness. He was trying to get in your head, mind games, and maybe Draymond thinks he's doing that to some level. But I don't know how many people totally are afraid of him like they were afraid of Rodman. First of all, partly they were afraid of Rodman touching their butt or doing something crazy like you look cute or something like that. That was part of the reason why they were a little scared of him, homophobia. But the other reason was also because he could get physical and do something unorthodox all of a sudden, like to knock your balance off and you fall on the floor. But he never actually would like strike people, like outright strike people, kind of like Draymond would do. Is all basically positioning battles underneath the basket with like your arms and your forearms and pushing. Then maybe you push somebody and you push them out of bounds. There's differences here. And often Rodman's kind of dirty stuff was involved in competition and maybe for positioning, for rebounds, where Draymond's doing extracurricular violent shit on the side. It's not even in like the whole thing with choking out Rudy Gobert. He's saying he's protecting his teammate. That sounds stupid as fuck. You know, that doesn't make any sense to me. You know, I don't know. In some ways, I'm very biased, and in some ways, I can try and figure out the differences between the old violent players and him. You know, in some ways, the competition, the caring about the game was way higher then. Why do you care so much to the point where you want to punch somebody in the face, Draymond? Seriously. That's what you did to Nurkic earlier this year that got you suspended. You straight up struck him in the face in a point in the game where it didn't even matter. It's just like random violence, just out of the blue. It's not even like that game was amped up or was a very important game or anything like that. It's just another one of 82. And he's going to take the opportunity to strike somebody in the face. Yeah, it's different. It's different. It depends on the competition, the level of where they are. Are they in the playoffs? Is this happening? That's usually when the violence was happening in the 80s, was in crazy high stakes games. And these guys were really ultra competitive. And that's why the violence would happen. This is just random violence that doesn't even need to happen. It's just unnecessary. And that's a difference here, I guess. I don't know. I guess. Let's see. Fiercely saying, Lex just remembered Indy crowd booing Dame and also counting while Giannis is at the free throws. Yeah, it was awesome. Good job, Indy. I'll go for you, small market teams, especially when you do shit like that. Mischief saying it's beautiful outside with the sun. All right, family day, get out there, touch grass like Scotty hoped she would. Mischief's got me at 11:27. Chris is saying Draymond will likely make a good broadcaster. You need a smack talker. Lots of back and forth on TNT. He's a huge personality. Talk to you all later. Deadlifts call. Got to dunk again. All right, there you go. And he's got the donut to dunk and the ball. He's working on his way to dunking. Work on the donuts first, not too much, and then you will get the ball dunked again. That's right. Yeah, I don't know. I don't think he's a good broadcaster. In some ways, if he's involved in the broadcast, I'm not going to listen to it. I'll turn down the volume. I'll watch it myself. I'll make my own broadcast, talking to myself, watching the TV, then listen to Draymond. In some ways, I may boycott him like this because I feel like in some ways the justifying of the violence of him and the endorsing it is really bad. I don't want to be a part of it. So I may boycott him in his post career after if he goes into broadcasting afterwards and they do actually keep him out there. In some ways, he may have a scandal and he just like exempt from it at some point because he really does something stupid. Like if he hurts somebody so bad before he retires and they cannot play anymore, in some ways he may like his legacy and his reputation may be absolutely tarnished because he did something really stupid. And I could see him doing this. Seriously. I could see him doing this. Trevor's saying ESPN, who will be next face of NBA after LeBron, Steph, Curry, and KD, Jason SGA, Anthony Edwards, Luca, Victor. That's the debate going on. Yeah, they're trying to say it's going to be one of those guys. Well, let's let them overlook our guy. And when he jumps up on top of the pile, then they'll have to recognize it. Watch. We'll see. Yeah, they're going to say all those names. Let's see. Country. I like SGA being involved in that. Country Kong saying, Lex, Scotty has to get rid of his signature dunk. I agree. I thought it was just a phase, but man, at the All-Star game, someone talked to him. As a rookie, he used to be an absolute highlight on the fast break. Yeah, I don't like it either. I've never liked it. I think it's really bad fundamentally. In some ways, it's cringy. In some ways, he's done it in games where we've been getting our ass beat. And I'm like, why are you doing that? We have nothing to brag about. We're down by 20. And you're doing your look away dunk. It's not good. In some ways, they were treating it lightly. They noted it in the ESPN grade for him. I don't know. In some ways, he wants that to be a signature move. You could have a much better signature move. In some ways, you're doing the people's elbow when you should be doing the rock bottom, Scotty. That's what it looks like to me. You shouldn't be doing the people's elbow. It's fakey and it looks stupid. You should do the rock bottom. Yeah, that's a better finisher, if you ask me right there. Yeah, Country Kong saying stopping, waiting, and looking back. I thought it was some strategy, but I think he's just trying to stand out. It's no fun to watch on TV. Maybe contributed to the boring ASG and uncompetitive feeling. Yeah, it's just not serious. In some ways, it's so fundamentally bad. In some ways, it's also very insulting to the other team, and it could backfire. Where it's like you do that, Scott, and you piss off the wrong guy, and they go off for 40 and they kill us and we lose. In some ways, if you really want to be conducive to winning, don't try and show up people like that. Because if you do that, you may piss off somebody like Dame Lillard. And all of a sudden, he's bombing on us and killing our team, and the Raptors are losing. That's why I hate the move, is because in some ways it's insulting to the other team. It's bulletin board fodder. And what, you need to give them more of a reason to get up to come and beat our ass because you're fucking insulting them with that move? Yeah, there's something I could criticize Scott for. It's that move, that dunk shit he keeps doing. Yeah. Yeah, I'm with you on this. That's why I never liked it right from the start. Because first of all, it's going to show somebody up. They're going to get pissed and they're going to go off on us, or you're going to do it and you're going to look foolish because somebody's going to catch up and block your ass and you didn't see them, or you're going to miss it, a gimme basket that fundamentally we should have gotten 2 points, but you're going to flub it because it's some sort of bullshit because you're looking around. Yeah, don't do this, Scott. Seriously, you need a better finishing move. I like the 2 threes in a row real quick as a better signature move. That's a much better signature move. 2 real quick threes. Boom, boom. That's a way better signature move than your look off dunks you've been doing. You did it in the game the other day, too, and you did it in the All-Star game also. Nah, let it go. That may have been all right for middle school and all these other places. You keep bringing it with you, it's going to backfire on you, and it's not going to look good. In some ways, if you make it so ensconced that everybody just expects it from you, then maybe they won't be so upset if you do it to them. But honestly, if I was in the opposition and I saw you showboating like that, I'd be like, I want to fucking kill that guy and beat his ass on the court. That's part of the problem with it. It can be caught and he can miss, and that misses opportunity for points. And the Raptors need every fucking point they can get. Or you're going to piss somebody else off on the other team, and they're a very good player, and they're going to get so mad that they're more up for playing harder because you showed them up. That's the problem right there. That's the problem right there. Trevor J saying All Star East made history, the most points scored ever. And on that note, we're going to wrap up the stream today. Good job, All Star East. Good job, Scotty. You look really good for most of the whole entire thing. A couple little things like Country Kong just mentioned, and the dribbling and losing the ball and skills competition. We can overlook those little blemishes for the overall body of work for this whole entire All Star weekend. Scotty, A plus in my book. A plus in my book. You look really, really good in the skills competition, shooting and passing. And you look really good yesterday with your dunks and your big threes that you made yesterday. So you go, Scotty Barnes, all star. I love it. Tomorrow, we're going to be doing Tuesday trivia. Raptor Freak Tuesday trivia returns after a long hiatus. I do not want to tell you all the subject, but you will enjoy it tomorrow. So please join me tomorrow at 9:30 a.m. for Raptor Freak Tuesday trivia. I'll be writing the questions this afternoon, and I'll have them ready for you tomorrow morning. Yeah, good job, Scotty, with your 16-point performance and the All-Star game. We're really proud of you. Raptors Nation's very, very proud of you. And we hope you get many, many more in the years to come. SGA, good stuff too. This is an interesting thing I didn't talk about yet. After the game, as Davis listed some of his favorite moments from the game, Anthony Davis, LeBron James' signature dunk in his 20th All-Star game, Dame Lillard's three-pointer from midcourt, and Karl Anthony Towns. Instead of all of that, he settled on a trampoline dunk performance during timeout as his best moment. I think the best we were talking about it was the Bulls and the Pacers dunkers. He said sincerely, the trampolines, like they were very, very impressive. Okay, that's interesting. So Anthony Davis thinks the best part of the All-Star weekend was the trampoline dunkers. Yeah, that tells you all you need to know about the seriousness the players take about this weekend. Honestly, it's crazy. Fiercely saying, W Stream Lex and fam, have a beautiful day. Have a beautiful day. Don't let it get away. All right, y'all. I appreciate y'all. Please like, comment, subscribe, and share. And join if you want to. You can be a part of our Facebook community and all that kind of stuff. Seriously, consider coming to the Coaches Open House. If you can do it, come to that event with me. It's going to be so much fun. All right, y'all. See y'all tomorrow for trivia. Let's go, Raptors. Let's go, Scotty. I'm proud of you, man. Good job, Scotty Barnes. You are an all-star. Now, let's play the second half of the season like you're an all-star, my man. Yeah, I'm all about it. Scotty All-Star, baby. Yeah.